And I was talking to Paul and RJ. I was like, bro, it's like if we had a banger of like a PLL song that could be the song for the league, like, and you do it like and I was telling him the way you write it is it's like a catchy ass hook, and then the verses are just interchangeable. So it never runs out because you can just switch players. And like I had this idea to do that with the NBA, but they are already so synced up with SportsCenter and probably like a bunch of music directors that they kind of get their marching orders. But like something like that could be super cool to like bring awareness to lacrosse, and then other people pop in and they do one.
What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 340 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, viewable on YouTube, and a championship edition of the Outside the Box podcast. DJ loves mimicking every intro I do.
It's so fun.
OTB is the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. Welcome, because I'm pretty sure this episode is going to have a metric bleep ton of new fans. Very excited about this episode.
Yes,
not
sir.
only is it PLL Championship Week, but we have one of the biggest guests, not only in OTB history, but in company history. And this show has produced 2 of those this year, which is insane. We are going to get into everything, including our 90-minute sit down with the one, the only, the multi-platinum recording artist, producer, and now big-time homie, Sammy Adams.
You heard that right. 90 minutes.
90 minutes of Sammy Adams, along with a PLL Championship preview, along with a mini NLL Draft preview. This is going to be an all-time episode of the pod, ladies and gentlemen. So strap in, get ready. And before we get into all of it, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod. On Twitter, we now sort of kind of have a blue check mark next to our name. So, ching, you know who we are. But OTB LaxPod is across the board, every single social media platform: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. YouTube.com/@OTB LaxPod. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_next great. Follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline, and follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. I always mess up his Twitter handle because we call him Hoots, but his Twitter handle is Hoot Sports, not Hoots Sport. And I always get that confused in my brain. But follow him. He just posted some badass pictures from Utah, between the Water Dogs and the Atlas. Some fire photos of the boy, Jake Richard. Definitely check those out. He posts them on his Instagram and on Twitter. You can follow me at KBIZZL311 on Twitter and KBIZZLE11 on Instagram and Threads. Subscribe to the pod. Like I mentioned, there are going to be a lot of new people. I am already anticipating it, listening to this episode and listening to this show for the very first time. If you're a lacrosse fan, if you like getting obscure guests on podcasts that you would never think would go on a lacrosse podcast, this is the show for you. Subscribe. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It really does go a long way for helping this show continue to grow. I can't even begin to let you guys know the shit we have on the horizon is going to be so massive. And it helps when you subscribe. It makes those things happen that much more frequently. and makes the bigger things seem even bigger. So subscribe, Apple and Spotify. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. We're at 839 subscribers. Goal is to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. The goal is to get to 900 by Sunday. We still got time. I'm sure a lot of you are listening for the first time. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button. Ring the bell icon. Leave a comment down below as well. And, of course, this show is presented by our good friends and the best humans on earth, Shootout For Soldiers, who just wrapped up their amazing season last weekend in Baltimore. And I want to pull up the direct numbers here because they did some numbies, Deej. Shootout For Soldiers in Baltimore raised $75,316 for local veterans this past weekend. Just a brilliant way to close out their premier event season. Couldn't be more proud of everybody involved with Shootout For Soldiers, and we're happy to be a part of that family with them being our presenting sponsor all through the rest of the year, pretty much, and hopefully beyond as well. We got some fun stuff in the works for later on this year with them as well, but Shootout For Soldiers are truly the best, and their mission is to use lacrosse as a platform to support American veterans and foster community engagement. With over a decade of dedicated collaboration from local communities, lacrosse players, and the U.S. military, Shootout For Soldiers has emerged as a highly regarded industry partner, offering an unmissable and eagerly anticipated event. Established in 2012 as a high school project, this event has experienced remarkable growth in both reach and impact, raising over $5 million to champion veteran service organizations with unwavering dedication to their mission. And along with that over $5 million, they've had over 7,500 attendees and over 2,500 players. Their premier season may be over. Their premier event season may be over. But guess what? You can still donate to Shootout For Soldiers and help their mission of bringing community together with lacrosse. They will have wall ball for warfighters going on during Veterans Week and a whole lot more going on throughout the rest of the year and beyond. So click the link in the description. See how you can get involved with Shootout For Soldiers. Stay up to date with everything they have going on throughout the remainder of 2024 and beyond. And hey, you can bring Shootout For Soldiers to your community as well with their, I always forget what they're called. Why am I always blanking on this? The kits. Basically, it's a kit to bring Shootout For Soldiers to your community. That they have available on their website. You can learn more about how to bring everything to your community. And I mean, they also have some of the sickest merch online. Their performance rope hat is available on their website now, as well as all their brand new shirts with the brand new Shootout For Soldiers logo that premiered this year. And Deej, they've got the FDNY Lacrosse Shootout For Soldiers limited edition jersey online. And I know you love that porthole mesh. This thing is clean as a whistle. All jerseys will have the number 65 on the jersey to honor the founding of the FDNY in 1865. It's got the Shootout For Soldiers logo as a patch on that thing. Those bad boys are clean. And they're only $79. Check it out. Click the link in the description. shootoutforsoldiers.com/events and shootoutforsoldiers.com/shop. And figure out how to donate and get involved with our good pals at Shootout For Soldiers.
I just want to say, a whistle's only clean until it's used. That's kind of where my head is right now. And I'm just so happy to be having like late night OTB back. These are the best episodes. So y'all get strapped in. This is going to be a good one.
I will say we're not like Nightcap. We don't have any of us going live on Instagram and some things happen. Shout out to Unc, but
yeah, nah, not like that. Just
I viewed Ocho Cinco as you in that situation. You would have approached that with Shannon Sharp the way Ocho Cinco did. I was like, this is Deej to a T.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, because like I ain't mad.
He said, "Unc, that was a minute video." Did you see his response to that?
He said,
He said, "Whoa, this ain't no
whoa.
YouTube short.
This a full feature." I said, yo. He said, that's fine. He said, your hips don't need no work. We got to get you some cardio. He said, when you lift the weights, we got to get you on the cardio too.
He said, hey, Ocho, when you got that ooh-wee.
He said, and we heard you. I ain't going to say what he said because we are still kid friendly. Oh. We are still, nah, he said, I heard what you said to her.
He said, whoa, Ocho.
He repeated it, though.
He said, I ain't heard you talk like that, Unc.
He said, I ain't heard you. I didn't know you had it in you.
He said he was being like millions, even billions of men on this planet, being an active and healthy male.
And I was like, I can't even argue with that.
Oh, it was so funny. It was so funny.
That was
Shannon
like
Sharp's the best.
That was like a conversation between me and Quay.
Oh my god, I was crying, dude.
So funny.
Oh, the best. DJ's championship weekend already. It's crazy. We talked about this when the playoffs started. This summer flew by. Like, it feels like yesterday we were getting ready to go to Albany, and here we are, and it's championship weekend. We have a loaded weekend on deck for you guys. I will be on location along with CFO Margie for media day, and depending on the situation, we're going to try to have Deej patched in to everything we're doing, just like the whole setup of everything. We don't really know how it's all going to work because it's a brand new setup for what we're accustomed to from media day, but nonetheless, we are very excited because we are going to have so many one-on-one interview opportunities, and it's going to feel like a real legit full-fledged, like almost like Super Bowl media day type thing. Like, we're going to have so many opportunities to chop it up with friends of the pod, make new friends of the pod. And I'm genuinely excited about the opportunities we're going to have to get guys, even for like 5 minutes, that ordinarily we would have no shot at getting just because they don't do media like that.
Yeah, I'm really excited for media day, hoping I can get patched in. Even if not, it's just a great opportunity for the pod to really lock some guys down. And, the better that goes, the opportunity to really get to sit down with them and probably pull another 90 minutes out of them and truly, give them a proper OTB fashion interview. So, the more exciting part is being invited and being able to get that up close view of these guys and really chop it up with them before they head into the biggest game of the year. That's kind of just another one of those steps that you look forward to as a media person. I wish I could be there to check it off, but as everybody out there knows, responsibilities are what they are.
But hey, we're going to hold it down. And I mean, it's going to be the first time we'll have one-on-ones with Chris Bates, Jim Stagnita, and a whole lot of other players, and being able to sit down with players that we've had on the show, but just in person for the very first time. I think the only person that we've had in person is the man, the myth, the legend, Piper Bond at Champ Series in February.
No. Technically, we had Josh.
No, I'm saying for this game. Like the Archers and Whipsnakes. Like the only player for media day that we've ever had in person from these two teams is Piper.
Yes.
But yes, technically we did have Josh Brennan in person, but we won't go there.
We won't.
We also had Andy Copeland in person.
But now you see why I don't like that city. That's part of it. Like that's added to the saga.
Hey now. But yeah, I'm very excited about it. I mean, it's gonna be an awesome time at Media Day. I mean, by the time you guys are listening to this, it's gonna be already like happening. For like, I got invited to the end of year awards dinner ceremony thing too because I'm gonna be there, which is like, what the fuck is my life? It's one of those moments that, like, when you're growing up and you want to get into sports as a kid, and you like check that off, and it's very weird. It's very humbling. I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and to just be in that room with so many talented guys that are so deserving of those awards is going to be awesome. So very much looking forward to that. And then Deej, you get here on Saturday, and we are more than likely going to meet some very, 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 very important people on Saturday, including one of my favorite people in Hollywood, and that is Jeffrey Wright. He was on the poster. And then I don't know, it's this tall, talented fellow who just won a gold medal this summer. Goes by the name of Kevin Durant. No big deal.
No biggie. I'm not gonna cap with you or anybody else out there right now. I'm going to do everything in my power to wiggle my way onto the court and play in one of these games.
I might mess around and play. Like it's one of those opportunities.
I mean, we a package deal. We a package deal. I'm
if
cool
our
with it. Let's do
guy,
it.
and this is no slight to the boy, if Mike Rabel can get out there in dress clothes, we can throw it around.
Mike, you heard us. Get the OTB
that's all, folks.
Get the OTB boys out on the street lacrosse court. I'm done, bro.
I do have to say this though. Your boy does not get starstruck that often. Just doing the whole media thing and being around certain people over the past few years, like I've gotten to the point where it's like, all right, play it cool, like we're good, and then after you kind of like geek out a little bit. I genuinely might get starstruck if I'm within 5 feet of Kevin Durant, which is very likely. Kevin Durant, like for people that don't know, is one of my favorite athletes ever. Like,
is he a snake?
Chill. Chill on me. But anywho, I love Kevin Durant when he played at Texas. Like, I just loved his game. And he is so fucking funny on Twitter. And it's just like an athlete willing to just like hit it to you straight and dunk on your ass on social media for you being a certified clown is one of the funniest things I think that Twitter has to offer. And Kevin Durant just does it so perfectly. And I just want to shake his hand for dunking on so many people, not both on and off the court.
Literally. Like, I mean, man's just funny. I will definitely give you that. And he's a fantastic basketball player. I'm not taking away anything from his skill. Just some decisions he made truly, in my opinion, hurt the game of basketball.
You didn't hear this, Kevin? I want you to come on the pod. I don't want any.
Oh no, please come on the pod so I can ask you about this.
There you go.
Come on the pod. I got questions, big dog. I got questions.
But yeah, we'll be at Street Lacrosse on Saturday. So if you're going to Street Lacrosse, come through, pull up, say what's up. I'm very excited about that too, because we both have not been able to make it to both in New York. I was planning on going to the second one and didn't have a car. So but now we're gonna be there. Very excited. And then Sunday we have a championship between two teams that have never faced off in the playoffs. And they're doing it on the biggest stage. And it's two former champions, the defending champion and the first champion going at it, and it's going to be an awesome game. I'm very excited about it. But
it's
before
it's just funny that everybody already know my pick. It's so funny. Everybody out there already knows my pick.
Before we get into all of that, let's put a bow on the semifinals, Deej. So the Whipsnakes advance in overtime against the New York Atlas on Long Island in what was arguably the greatest PLL game ever. It gave you everything and then some that you could ever ask for in a PLL game. And I was down here in the studio watching before hopping on the press conferences and everything, and just watching that game. I'm not even like a fan of either team, but I couldn't even imagine being a fan of either team during that game, especially the overtime period where we talk about it with the man, Sammy Adams, later on. Like Paul Rabel was telling him, this doesn't happen. Overtime does not go this long. Like normally it's done within a minute or two because guys are so amped up and they find a way. That's the longest overtime we've ever seen in the PLL. And the Whipsnakes come away with the win. And like I said last week, it has just felt like a Whipsnakes year to go to the championship. And Matt DeLuca agreed with us. And look at that. The Whipsnakes are in the championship. But Deej, you and I both agreed that was one of the best games of lacrosse we've ever watched.
Oh, by far. It gave me, everybody's probably going to know exactly what game I'm talking about because it's arguably the game I bring up every time I compare it to anything. You know what game I'm talking about?
I know you're going to tell me.
Oh, man. You should know. Come on. Know me better than that. It's the very first championship lacrosse game I ever watched. 2016 National Championship, Maryland versus North Carolina, overtime. Klutch sends it home. Like it gave those kind of vibes. It was a game that I was thoroughly enjoyed with because the action was there the entire game. It kept you into it the entire game, and it came down to somebody making a play in the end after people continued to make plays all day. It's exactly what I had in that first game that kind of really reeled me in. Well, I shouldn't say reeled me in. I was reeled in, but that was the one that kind of showed me what the highest levels really had to offer. And they continue to show year after year that it can only get better.
Yeah, it delivered in so many ways. And I know our guy Joe Keegan tweeted about it, and I felt the same way, and I'm sure you did too. Like when the Atlas went up by 3 with however much time was left on the clock, I don't remember off the top of my head, but that felt like the dagger shot where it was like, okay, this is a 2-possession game now. Whipsnakes have kind of been stifled a little bit, on offense on this run that the Atlas have gone on. And then, don't you know it, that man who loves Long Island, rest in peace, Heacock on Peacock, but my goodness, that boy came to play on ESPN. It was awesome to just watch the Whipsnakes crawl back into it, and then the overtime of all overtimes, and Levi Anderson, swim move, bada bing, bada boom, sends the Snakes to the ship. And, obviously people are talking about it being a ward and not getting called and everything. But just on the surface level, I'm so happy for Levi because, like, he is such a genuine dude. And, like, getting to, have him in a couple press conferences this year and just hearing about how his teammates talk about him and how good of a teammate he is. Like, he just seems, I'm very excited to, like, have Levi sit down with us at media day. And, obviously he's got the Philly connection too there with him going to St. Joe's and everything, and has made Philly like his second home. But I was like, damn, like the ups and downs that Levi had this year where, he starts training camp with the Woods, gets traded. And when you get traded at any sport, you don't really know what type of situation you're going to until you actually get there. And then he ends up in the perfect situation for his game, ends up with the perfect teammate to kind of like go alongside with in our guy, Matt Rambo, who has lots of wisdom, according to Levi. And I mean, like, what a awesome rookie season for Levi Anderson to go from, a team that didn't end up making the playoffs to a team that, embraces him. They give up a draft pick for him, and then he pays it all for him and sends him to the championship for the first time since 2021.
I mean, it's just the kind of things you dream of, like when he heard his name called, these are the kind of things that he was looking forward to doing. So it's only going to continue to bring energy to his game. And, that's a scary thing for Archer fans coming into, the upcoming weekend. Is a guy like that is on fire, and he's looked good kind of all season once he stepped into that role that they were asking him to fill there in Maryland. So I'm thoroughly pleased with the way that those kind of picks have been working out. The guys from Jacksonville and High Point and UMass and Lehigh, the St. Joe's, like those kind of guys that are getting pulled out, they're really working out for these teams, and I appreciate that. I mean, even Dauber coming out from St. Bonaventure, like that kind of stuff's huge to me.
And then, not the way that the Atlas envisioned their season coming to a close. They finished with the best record in the regular season, and the overtime period crushes them. And I think we talked about it off pod earlier this week, and I'm sure he'll say it forever. Mike Pressler is going to have nightmares about not throwing that flag earlier than he did for the rest of his career.
And I'll be honest, right? I don't get the opportunity to throw challenge flags as a high school coach. But if I did, I would treat it the same way I treat it now. If I question something, you can ask every assistant coach, every parent, every kid, player that has ever seen me coach. I'm going to just yell it out. Like, hey, wasn't he in the crease? No? You sure? That's what I saw. And they'd be like, all right, no, all right, that's fine. Let's keep playing. Like, I'm going to question it. So as a coach at that level, if I was there, if I question it at that point in the game, what do I have to lose? A timeout and a challenge. I still got a timeout and a challenge left. So you're telling me I have nothing to lose, but a goal comes off the board possibly, so I have a ton to gain? I'm throwing it, no question. But I understand why he didn't, because a lot of times you want to be confident in that challenge because you want to retain it. You want to retain your timeout. Those things are important. 100% understand why you would be cautious about throwing that flag. But in that moment, you got to assess what's going on around you. Also, I think that's another one of those things that isn't necessarily the job of a backup goalie, but could enhance your skills as a backup goalie. Being like, hey, coach, we got 2 timeouts. We got 2 challenges. You don't have to stress about throwing this flag. If you feel like it's worth it, just go for it. We're not really losing anything here, but we are gaining something if the goal comes off the board. Just having that insight in the game and that knowledge to know like exactly what's going on in the game to make those decisions. But then again, you're coaching, you're in the mindset. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on. It's a close game, almost, on the way to overtime. 1,000 thoughts going to your mind at once. You try and slow that down, which is going to, make you hesitate on making decisions. It 100% makes sense on why he didn't. 100% makes sense on why he's going to kick himself for it. But 100%, I think in the future, he's going to not think twice in situations like these late game where he has multiple timeout and challenges and just go for it.
I think the silver lining for this Atlas team, and obviously it sucks that you don't accomplish the goals that you feel like you could have and maybe should have accomplished this year with the team that you had and, the way that they were playing all season long pretty much. The silver lining is they have one player on this team that is over the age of 30 going into next season, and that is Miles Jones. Everyone else that is on the roster from 2024, pending free agency, pending retirements, pending trades, whatever it may be, if this exact roster is back, there's one player on this team next year that is over the age of 30, and that's Miles. That's a silver lining.
Yeah, you know how I feel about silver linings. I've gotten better at them, actually, as I've been the coach of my old high school team.
You stacking a playbook of them?
Nah, not like that, bro. Just
great movie.
I'm just understanding, depending on where your program is, you do have to be excited about those silver linings because that's actually how you build the program. Those are building blocks. Like if you're already an established program that should be doing certain things, no, those silver linings are not what you're looking for. And it is more frustrating to think about those. But when you're building and you're looking forward to what's coming next, those silver linings are everything. And looking at a squad like that, that's young, and they all enjoy being around each other and playing, and they know, that they have what it takes, and they're right there. Like, imagine the Whipsnakes win this championship. They're looking at it like we lost in overtime to champions. So hypothetically, transitive property, that should be us. You know, like, granted, transitive property doesn't work in sports, but that's your mindset. You're going to look at it like, man, that should have been us, and it could have been us off what happened. So all we have to do is come back and do what we did last year and then finish the job in the playoffs, and we're smooth sailing.
Yeah, and I think for Mike Pressler, who has talked a ton about how being the GM is the most important role in the PLL, he's got to feel great just knowing that for the most part, outside of, free agency and everything, the core of this roster is going to be back next year. Your Jeff Teets, your Connor Schellenbergers, your Xander Dixons, your Dox Aiken, your Peyton Cormier, your Trevor Baptiste, your Danny Logans. Like, the core of this roster is anywhere between the ages of 24 and 28. And I think in the PLL especially, like, that is invaluable to have, where there are a lot of teams that do have some older veterans and everything, and they are, in that win now window, where the Atlas are in a win now window, but their window hypothetically is kicked wide open right now. So
they're in a win now window because they're good.
Yeah.
Not because they need to, because like they don't have time left. They're just like that competitive.
They've built the window.
Yeah, they've built a window that will last, and it's quite impressive.
So I know this Atlas team is not going away anytime soon, and the league should be scared about that. If you're another team, like, you got to know, like, this Atlas team, now that they lost in the playoffs like this, they're going to be coming back with even more vengeance in 2025. So kudos to Mike Pressler and the Atlas. The turnaround was crazy from 2023 to 2024 as well. They should be proud of the things that they did accomplish. A lot of record-setting milestones this year as well, and they will be back for sure. On the flip side, we saw almost the first perfect game in pro lacrosse history. Brett Dobson was 56 seconds away from the very first perfect game in lacrosse at the pro level.
I honestly don't know what to say about it. I haven't really responded to it, honestly, because, like, I don't know what's, like, I haven't said anything on Twitter about it. Like, there's really no words for the scenario.
It's crazy.
It is a fascinating feat.
It is the most perfect game to date.
And he didn't even seem mad at himself for giving up the goal either. He was just like, whatever.
Tony Resch needs to buy the entire Archers team their own ice cream truck for that performance.
Truck, parlor, something. They just need to be able to
Both
just pull up. They just need to be able to pull up and get ice cream. Like,
the team bus is now just a team ice cream truck.
Yeah, I played defense for Archers. All right, what flavor you want? Like, it should just be that simple for them. You ain't got you. Oh no, sir. Put that back in your pocket. It's free for you. You're fine. We don't accept money from you.
What a performance.
I mean, that goes with the defense too, because like they made it easy for him to make those saves.
I know we talk about Graham Hossack, but my goodness, do we not talk enough about the other parts of that Archers defense nearly enough as we should as, like, lacrosse fans? I know you and I talk about, Warren Jeffrey being underappreciated and Mason Woodward being a rookie. I almost said a freshman, but a rookie on this team and playing the way that he did all year long, having our guy Colby Bars step up when they needed him most because Cam Wires was out injured. Like, and that's not even mentioning that short stick unit. Like, this Archers defense is just a juggernaut, and we don't always talk about them that way.
Is Mason Woodward or Ajax Zapatello the better defenseman this year?
That's a great question. That sounds like a Twitter poll.
I mean, the work is there. The work is there.
Remember on draft night when everyone was like, Mason Woodward?
Yeah.
Credit to him. Like,
me and Brian talked about it though, popping out with just like how solid he was as a defender. and just
And I mean,
we talked about him just being a really good cover guy in a ground ball vacuum, and that's exactly what he was for the Archers this year.
and seeing the way that Jake Richard talked about him too, it's just like, if you have that much respect and that much just like emphasis on you from a guy like Jake Richard and his stature in the lacrosse game, you're winning in my book.
There are 2 very good long pulls now in the league from Marquette. Just saying, some other teams might want to start looking up there.
Shout out to Jake Richard.
He's not the other one.
No, he's the coach there.
Okay. Okay, I'm
saying for
making
the program.
Sure. Yeah. He wasn't the coach there when Liam Barnes was there.
He was teammates with Liam Burns there.
Yes, he was.
You know how I feel about Liam Burns. That's my guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do want to give credit to Andy Towers on the way that he handled this game afterwards, and was pretty much just like, sometimes that's how the ball bounces. Sometimes you score goals. Sometimes you get held to 1. And at the end of the day, he was talking about just like the way that, this team performed, and he's already chomping at the bit to get back to training camp. And you and I know AT pretty damn well, I'd say, over the past X amount of years that we have interacted with him. With us, he's been a day one OG friend of the pod. There are very few coaches that I think if I were to strap up and play lacrosse, like, that I would want to play for more than Andy Towers. He is just like a genuine, like, ready to go to war with you type of coach. And it sucks for this Chaos team. There was a lot of growing pains for them this year. We talked about it a ton. The nice part, silver lining again, it's not as, peaches and cream as it is for the Atlas, but most of this core will be back next year. And that's good for them. They just have to figure out the meshing of the offense, because the back end of your team is pretty much intact, which is nice, especially in a sport like in a league like the PLL. You almost kind of want to try to build it from the back end so that you have that anchor behind you, and then you go get the talent on offense. It's a young team offensively. They still have some veteran guys obviously mixed in, and the face of the team offensively is one of those guys. But like, this Chaos team has proven, like, no matter where they finish, they are very much a let's just get in the dance and see what happens type of team. And they are going to do that year in and year out. And don't be shocked when they're back in the playoffs next year and, pulling upsets in the first round, and who knows what happens after that.
My piece on their offense is they just need a couple different sets that are designed for different things, right? Like a set to give Josh space to dodge and beat his matchup, a set to, have some invert from behind, a set to get a Shane an open shot, a set to get a step down from Perk or Dauber, a set to let Jules work. Like, there's so many different pieces that they have to their offense. They just need to figure out different ways to get them into the best positions for those players, which I think they can do. Just this year, it didn't really seem like they had that. It seemed like they hadn't thought too much about how they were going to transition from their old Canadian style to a more open style that would benefit the new talent they have. And I think they did a lot of trial and error this year, and some stuff worked and some stuff didn't. So they're able to kind of patch that all together. And I do expect their offense to be a lot better come week 1 next year.
Yeah, and I think this year was almost like, let's set the seeds of how we want to operate moving forward. And AT has talked about how they transition the offense a lot from what we have known this Chaos team to be. And it was like a hard launch on that. It was like, let's get these guys in the draft, and now it's time to throw them in the fire. And I think those guys learned a lot this year about just the speed of the pro game and getting their feet wet and being thrown right in the deep end. and it's going to help them moving forward. And I think next year it's like, okay, we're accustomed to this. We know how the league kind of works, how the speed of the game is now. We're going to be way more comfortable this year than we were going into our rookie seasons. And I think that's a benefit for them.
That's exactly how I feel about freshmen getting moved up to JV or varsity. Like, if you know you're going to be moving a freshman up to varsity as a sophomore and possibly starting them, do it as a freshman. I'm not saying you got to start him, but move him up there, have him in practice, throw him in at the end of games. He's got to get that experience. It's only going to make him better. Putting him in as a sophomore after he played freshman or JV is just putting him deer in headlights, basically. The more opportunity you can give them, the better. And Chaos kind of just put all their rookies out there like, yo, this is it. This first year is going to be rough, but give me 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. This team's going to be where we want it to be. And sometimes that's what you got to do.
And they still went 4-6 and won a playoff game. At the end of the day, that's invaluable to get that type of experience for those guys. And I mean, outside of Josh Byrne, your returning core of offensive players are 25 and younger. That's huge. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens with the Chaos. You know,
is KJ that young?
KJ's 31.
Okay,
he's my age because his birthday is.
I say that's what I thought.
July or August. I was just looking at their attack group because who knows if Jules is back with them. He's a free agent, but would it shock us if he's back? No. Would it shock us if he's not back? No. He's one of those coin flip guys, I think, free agency wise.
I think I would be more shocked if he didn't go back.
And then, their entire midfield, as listed on the website outside of KJ, 29 and younger. So we'll see. But yeah, kudos to the Chaos boys. And I know they got some award nominees as well for the end of year awards. So also shout out to Ian McKay. Let the group project do the group project. Still came out a champ.
Hey man, sometimes you just got to celebrate.
That's our bow on the semifinals. We are going to kick it to an hour and a half of power with the man, the myth, the legend, Sammy Adams. Before we do, I want to talk to you guys real quickly about our friends over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game, from sunglasses to blue light glasses to prescription lenses. Tomahawk Shades has you covered. Deej is always wearing them when he's coaching. I'm wearing them when I'm outside traveling, covering games for Violent High School sports. When we're out on the road, Deej and I are going to have our Tomahawk Shades on at the PLL Championship Game because it's supposed to be some nice weather on Sunday, which is great. Tomahawk Shades are truly the best in the game. Founded on Long Island, two brothers who wanted to say, hey, let's make eyewear that's great quality for an affordable price. And guess who bought in? Some lacrosse icons. Kyle Harrison, ever heard of him? He's a part owner of the company. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Hogan, also part owner of the company, along with John Jay and Daniel Descalzo, two Major League Baseball big time names. John Jay, first base coach for the Miami Marlins right now. So go to tomahawkshades.com. It's linked in the description. When you go to checkout, use code USP for 25% off your order from our friends at Tomahawk Shades. That's tomahawkshades.com, or download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store, Google Play Store, and use code USP for 25% off your next order from Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. Big thank you to Tomahawk Shades for being a longtime sponsor of the pod. And along with Tomahawk Shades, our friends at Duracell are powering the Sammy Adams interview. Big shout out to Duracell portable power stations. Guys, we all need to charge our devices. And sometimes we're not close to a wall. And that's where Duracell comes into play. They are the best. Duracell batteries are things that we have been using since we were kids, and they are the #1 trusted battery brand. And Duracell portable power stations and charging hubs allow you to power your laptops, mobile devices, lights, speakers, and any small electronics that make your life easier during a power outage or while you're away from a wall outlet. We should be having one coming pretty soon, and it's going to be awesome to have all of our live events powered by Duracell, because that sounds badass, and it's going to be true. So click the link in the description. and check out the Duracell portable power stations, including their 2024 Red Dot award-winning M150 and M250 models, and untether your device charging from the wall and power the possibilities with Duracell portable power stations. That link is in the description, both audio and video. So big thank you to Duracell for powering our interview with the one and only Sammy Adams. And now, without any further ado, let's kick it all night longer with Sammy Adams. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we now welcome on a very, very, very special guest. It is the one and only Sammy Adams joining us here on the Outside the Box podcast. Shout out to Twitter, because even though it can be a cesspool lately, Sammy Adams and I connecting on Twitter is one of the wildest things that, 10th grade me would have never seen coming. And bro, we're stoked to have you on the show, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having me, dude. I'm stoked.
So I gotta get it off the rip. First, we were talking, before we started recording, like, you knew about lacrosse, you had family members playing lacrosse, but what put the PLL in particular kind of like on your radar initially? And obviously you're coming off of performing at the Summer Fest at the PLL semifinals, but what got you initially like eyes on the PLL and kind of following along with the league?
It was like literally just that short form content that RJ and that team was putting together. And just, seeing, like, anytime I see something being built that like I either have, a vested interest or not, just something that I think, has legs. And lacrosse has always been one of those things where it's like, whether it's like when I was at Trinity, which was D3, or Hobart, which was D1, and then visiting the homies that were like at the elite spots, like at UVA and Duke and, UNC, like it's a crazy difference between those, but the like actual like time and devotion that even the D3 athletes that, like, because some were dual athletes with soccer and lacrosse, like, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot, it's so physical. So you have to have like everything from, like strong core to, being able to hit the weight room probably as much as possible, because they're whacking each other out there. And then you add in just all the mechanics and all like the actual, like I can't even cradle a ball. So what these dudes are doing, like, while I was watching the game, it's crazy, like swim moving over someone and then reversing it again, and then the dude turns around. It's like, oh bruh, yeah, my knees are not about to do that. But I think like it was honestly what really kind of like tied me in is I knew RJ through some people, and we were actually going to do I think we were going to do it about a month earlier at Harvard, but and I hope this wasn't because of me, but the liability issues do be coming up when we have shows. But I think, like with all the heat that they took with the kind of Israel-Palestine thing and like that situation unfolding, not that I'm gonna speak on that at all. But I think it was just kind of, they were looking at it like, this might not be the best idea for right now. And then we were going to do Gillette. And then just worked out to do it in New York, because I was actually in New York because my brother just had a baby boy, or his BM just had a baby boy, not him, excuse me. But I ain't trying to get clouds on that.
Proper.
People be in the comments like, he did not have the baby. But so it worked out perfect in terms of just kind of, because sometimes when you have to reschedule stuff, it's like it gets chaotic, and then you have to push it, and then like there's so many times that happens, and like that's why, the small boutique like agent that I work with, that's why, so you don't get lost in the whole roster, because I know when like Mac and I were both at CAA, it just started to get a little convoluted because they all put us in the same boat just because we're white and we rap. And And it was like you just get overlooked for like bigger opportunities. So we just kind of stayed patient, and we're like, we'd love to do this, like love to be not only just like, you know, the headline act for doing it, but also like stay in touch and help build it. Cause like I really do feel like the sport has legs.
Yeah, and I mean, when I saw that, you know, you were performing and everything, I was like, this is gonna be sick. Like, this is the culmination of like my now and my past, where like I'm a high school kid and I'm listening to Sammy Adams and I'm like, this dude is fucking awesome. You know, your rise was like that late 2000s and like, you know, going into the 2010s.
Totally.
When you look back on that, like what was that, you know, just whole moment like where, you know, you're going from making beats on your MacBook in like 2008 to, you know, 2010 to 2012, like being such an explosive time for you as an artist and really bursting onto the scene. What is that like for you, and just like going through all of that whirlwind all at once?
It was crazy. And I think like it's, and I would probably say like 98% of my like close friends and guys that have been in the circle for, you know, pretty much right off the jump. We're really stoked that it happened before the toxic social media came in. Because people would dead ass just say it to our face, like, you're a fucking bitch. And it's like, bet. Well, I'm not gonna swing on you. Someone might. But you know, it's like things like that when like I could give one fuck about what someone drops under a comment, or if it's just constant hate. Cause like, you know, you start to pay attention. Like, I don't even really read comments anymore unless I'm just responding to people. Cause you know, Instagram, all these algorithms, they have you do all this extra stuff so you get more views. And that shit's mad annoying to me, you know, because it's like I don't even see half of my friends' stuff on my feed. So if you think I'm gonna waste, you know, even a nanosecond of my time with some bozo that has his own issues that he's dumping on me, it's like, bruh. Like I've never cared, and I tell this to a lot of like younger artists and my guys I believe in. It's like when you're doing that show on the rise, like it don't matter if there's one person there, if you're playing for event staff, like you got to do your job to the best of your ability. Like the fans and the hype crowds, that's all the plus and the production value. But you need to learn how to do it on stage dolo. So it's like that was a big thing coming up where we started to focus so much on the live show that, you know, we didn't really care about what the bag was that night or where we were staying. We were just trying to play shows on shows on shows. And that's basically what we did up and down the East Coast. And, you know, it's like, that's why it was tough to sign a touring deal. Cause it's like, well, why would we give you all this, you know, these analytics and all this data of where we're, you know, where we can sell out hard tickets, where we can do this, we can do that. So it was all like a big whirlwind at once of like I know management was overwhelmed. So we all kind of divvied it up. So it wasn't like all on one person's plate. And, you know, we moved like a very kind of altruistic group. It was a team thing. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, I just work for Sammy. It's like, no, you're just part of the team. So, like, as long as you get your shit handled and get it done. But it was still super overwhelming because, you know, we're broke-ass college kids, you know, getting flown out private to go meet with Jimmy Iovine. And we're like, we allowed to, like, eat this charcuterie board on the jet? And they're like, yeah, bro. Like you can have everything but the jet.
That's
like,
hilarious.
Facts.
Yeah, it's like, bro, I'm going from literally sharing like a single room with one of my best friends that we did for like, you know, almost 3 years to like staying at presidential suites and all this, you know, because they're just whining and dining you. And it's hard to not like be like, oh, word, this is lit. But it's also you have to, you know, keep your head about you because it is really a ploy to show you what it could be. So that was like it all happening and like culminating at once. It was more so that we were getting the attention that we needed to build to get to that next level. Cause like my favorite thing Pharrell's ever said is like, first step is making music, second step is building your fan base, and then the third step is 900 other steps. And it's like you got to and you got to just stay super dialed. And it's difficult because, like, you know, we didn't do as many tickets at first on the West Coast, so like I immediately wanted to focus on the West Coast and get that built. But when you have such strong markets on like the East Coast and Midwest, it's incredible. And it's like it kind of goes back to like you said, thinking about those days where I had these, you know, beats and production and songs on my laptop, to see where it's gone and where I've performed and just some of the milestones that we've hit. You know, if you took us back to when we first started, we'd definitely be over the moon about it.
And I mean, I think a lot of people, myself included, like stumbled upon you when I Hate College drops, and it's one of the biggest videos on YouTube ever. What was that just pocketed whirlwind like when that song comes out? It's obviously like kind of a parody of Asher Roth's I Love College, and it blows the fuck up. And then on top of that, how many times did people confuse you for Asher Roth as that song was like?
Like the funny thing was we had this thing called Trin Talk at Trinity, and my roommate was always like, yo, this joint right here, this gonna fly at the frats. So I was like, which joint? Because, you know, I'm cooking up all day. And I thought he was talking about Hey College. He was talking about Driving Me Crazy, which I had not even had an idea to put out yet. So I'm like looking at this dude like, do I trust this dude to like leave my Logic key in here? This motherfucker literally leaked I Hate College because he thought it was good enough without the second verse. So, bro, the first 5 million views on that joint, like before we backdoored into YouTube, it had 5 million views without the second verse. And I was like, my guy, what are you doing? And but like the crazy part is no one cared. It was just an instrumental for the second verse. And so I was like, okay, we definitely got to finish this. So we finished it that week. And it was like, I think it was about 2 or 3 years before they had done the deal for monetization on the platform. So like they were like, yeah, as long as like, you know, and like obviously one of my interns had uploaded it on our channel. So as long as we own the channel, we could upload the new song and save the views. So then that just kept going crazier because people came to revisit it for that second verse. So that was wild. And like in terms of the Asher stuff, like he was so much more like dialed in, like at the dojo with Dame Dash and Currency and Cuddy, or not as much Cuddy, but like Smoke Dizza and all those dudes. Which is how I got like a feature from Currency or 2 features from Currency, which like I still think is the most lit part of that whole thing. Is like the only features are Spitta and Tiesto. Like couldn't be two opposites, you know? And like, I mean, even before that, like we had a joint with Styles, we had a joint with Method Man, we had a joint with Jada, and it's like all those type of joints just didn't fit for what we were doing on Boston's Boy. But it's incredible to have those kind of like just in the vault, because like that's some shit I'm gonna show my kids. Like, yo, this was, I mean, that's Wu-Tang, this is D Block, like it's crazy, and like we never really got confused, me and Asher Roth, because he did a lot of press and kind of was just like, yeah, he's a dickhead. And it's like, I literally didn't even throw any shots. I just talked about what college is really like. Like, ain't nobody going to get $1 slice of pizza. That shit's $9.99 now. Like, like for real. But it's like, you know, like that was, I think the whole thing was that it was a time where a remix didn't need to be like a clapback or a parody. It could just be your own take. And like that was one of those beats where it was like, it's like just the perfect tempo that you can get your flow on, but it's not. It's like me listening to the instrumental of it, like even before shows, I'm like, it's so bare boned, and like that's why people liked it so much, is because what you're writing and like how you deliver it and your lines are really what's carrying that song. It's not like all the bells and whistles, like so much shit on FM radio now. It's just so overproduced. So I mean, you know, overall, it's like that. Like I see it at shows where people are like, "Oh, that's not the other dude, that's him." And it's like, yeah, bet. And like seeing them know all the words, like that's got to be the best feeling for me, because like, you know, it's like it sticks with people, and when people actually give you their undivided attention. I mean, there's so much media, it's so much content coming out, whether it's music or movies or reels or whatever. You know, it's crazy, and we're blessed to build that, and that they stay patient with you. You know, it's like there's a lot of times where I could easily, you know, flood 4 albums a year, but they'll be in my mind like a 60% of what we could do. So it's like for me, waiting and really getting the right records out, and like I've always tried to not pigeonhole myself into just one genre, because it's so easy. Like if you get a corporate event and all your shit is like, you know, pretty gutter, the chances you get that probably aren't as much. But then again, there's bags otherwhere to get. So it's kind of like keeping all my parallels open. But we never really got like confused. People do get confused like whose song it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean that's understandable. It's like, and now, I mean, now you can't even do that. I couldn't take a remix from Drizzy or, you know, anyone and put it on YouTube, because they'll clap that before it even gets uploaded. So shout out all the copyright infringement attorneys that are shitting on our creative ability.
Going
Amen
hard.
to that.
So far I've heard a lot of similarities between the beginning of your career and kind of where the PLL is now. I won't tell you how old I was during the beginning of your career to spare you. But you know, kind of looking at, you know, your aspect and your outlook on, you know, shows and how you wanted to pump that up versus like, you know, your ticket sales and how much your fan engagement mattered and those kind of things, and comparing that to the PLL. Kind of how do you see the astronomical growth of the PLL coming in the next couple of years compared to kind of the path that your career took?
You know, I think probably one of the most difficult parts is already well underway, which is like, you know, the youth being excited, and there's like so many aspects to that. And I think a big similarity that I definitely see between PLL and just growing our fan base from when we started is there's so much trickle down effect from siblings, or, you know, someone that they look up to. It could even just be like an older brother type or an older kid at school that plays lacrosse. Like I can't tell you how many people are like, I wouldn't have known who you were if it wasn't for this, or my little sister, or my older sister. And then you get the annoying ones where it's like, but my little sister's a fan. Can you sign these 9 things? I'm like, you can just say you're a fan. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm 37, bro. Like, it is what it is. But it's like people are weird with that, because I think like what's interesting is like you kind of can just like feel it intuitively that this isn't like, because there's so many like either MLS or like other things that people are at, but there's just not as much. And I don't know if it's because the MLS, like, until they started building actual stadiums and got capital for their teams, it's impossible to play in a football stadium because no one actually plays real, like, actual world football, not American football, on turf. It's like sacrilegious to the Europeans. You know, like even like in the lower leagues, like Greece and those places, like you have to have you know, you don't live in the Faroe Islands, bro. Like, you don't need turf. For them, it's like, sure, because y'all have like whales, seals, and you need artificial turf because it's wild. But like that, like I think the exciting part about it too is like you can't fake enthusiasm in kids, you know. And just like seeing kids buzzing around, like even throwing out the t-shirts before like overtime started, like it was wild. Like it was super loud. Everyone's super dialed into the game, paying attention. I mean, every kid had at least like one of the fiddle sticks, you know, just messing around. So it's like, I think honestly, it's like in a good way, it's a ticking time bomb. And I would assume that, you know, with like the Hulu sponsorships and Ticketmaster, I'm sure Paul's like, you know, talking to some big bosses, because I think like it's like a couple angel investors away with a big bag to get this going pretty crazy.
And you know,
and like ESPN Plus and ESPN covering certain things on Top 10, like that didn't happen 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So I think that's unreal that you're seeing that support without having to hawk them. Like just like not necessarily grassroots support, but just like, you know, sometimes you have to hound someone to get a certain show, and it's not that they don't want to book you. It's just that there's 9 million other things on the docket. So it's just about that consistency. And you know, like it's obviously like Paul's one of the GOATs, and like it's amazing to have him kind of at that front line. Because he's obviously has a great head on his shoulders. I mean, he's just a great dude in general. But there's so much potential, and I just haven't seen that much like enthusiasm kind of buzzing around even in between games in a long time for any sport that's not already, you know, a multi-trillion-dollar thing. So it's definitely already on its way, and I think really it's just about catering to that, to keeping it super exciting for not only the younger people, but it's like if you keep coming up with great semis games like that, it's like people are going to want to watch it.
And, you know, you said you were there in person, so you got a chance to see arguably the greatest game in PLL history with that Whipsnakes Atlas game. But also you saw the greatest rivalry in the early PLL between the Archers and Chaos. What was that energy like down there? And then kind of just knowing, you know, the position they're in, you know, being in college while you started like really making music and stepping seriously into your career, and that piece and similarity to them still working full-time jobs and having to come out on the weekend and give their all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like just nothing short of like, you know, commendable. It's like one of those things where you know, it's like whether I was like a bar back or landscaping or like working doubles, as you know, this is way before Uber Eats. So it's like, you know, luckily I never had to do the barista thing because I'd be trash at all that. Like I can't even remember like friends' names. I'd be writing it down like, what was that again? I'm like, damn, I gotta make a what the fuckiato? Like I'm good on that. But you know, honestly, it's like that's what like most people that were like, so you just shot up overnight. It's like, well, in the general scope of things, no, but how, you know, how the media, how the public sees it from the stories, it's like, oh, I didn't know you had 18 songs out before this. And it's like, well, shit, neither did I. So I guess it is, you know, like a very overnight looking thing. I mean, same people say that stuff about like about Russ and about the dude who has the $1 Million Baby song. Even Shabuzi, who like just got his first #1 and he's crushing it. Like music's interesting because it is a lot, you know, like a sport, because you have to stay sharp, you have to stay conditioned, and like you really have to take care of yourself, because after years of touring, you know, it's like everything's all fun and games and it's partying and whatever until, you know, you do have to go back and, like get back in the studio or get back in the office or do whatever. And a lot of people don't realize it's like when you're burning the candle at both ends like that, it's really hard to dig deep for both of them, because one of them one day is going to be like, fuck, now my energy's here, and vice versa. So it's just such like a testament to like how dedicated they are to this game. And it's like, I never would have had any type of success if, you know, I didn't have other things going on. Like, I think it's super important. I mean, especially nowadays in the music industry, because, you know, streaming wise, it's like you could sell 1 million records and make about $650K, and then you could stream 50 million records and barely make 15 bands. And it's crazy, because whoever did that deal, you know, with Spotify, obviously you didn't do the same deal with Tidal or with Deezer or with Amazon or, you know, even Apple Music. And I worked at Apple Music for 4.5 years. And it's like, we didn't do the deal. Like, it was the execs doing the deals at the labels. So basically it's like, you know, it's like everyone loves looking at like monthly Spotify listeners, just like you look at someone's like who's following them page, and half of it's fucking cap. I mean, I've literally seen buildings where there is like a good 5,000 users just right after that 35-second mark. Ding, hit it again. Ding, hit it again. Ding, and they got 90 screens. So like, I mean, and like Nikki and a bunch of other people got caught fake farming, but it's like everything's fake, because there's so much like bait and switch, just like, you know, hide the ball. Like, it's just from the coming from the side that they have to work jobs and then come grind. Because it's a lot harder than you think. And it's like there was times when I was still working and I was like, man, the last thing I want to do is this show right now. And then you just get amped. And I think it probably has so much to do with just their love for the game. And you know, just getting better. It's kind of like watching my favorite like soccer players, where it's like, wow, how is this dude like already scored 9 hat tricks and he's still getting better? And it's like, you don't even think they can get better, but it's just that dedication. And that's like so commendable to me, because there's really not that many other leagues that can even say that that's happening. And like, I hope it pays off for them big time, because at the end of the day, there's nothing like, you know, sacrificing and putting shit on the line and it ending up paying out, which is great. And, you know, you never know, like, you always got to take a leap of faith, but I think it's headed in the right direction in terms of just like getting the notoriety. I think that's big. And I think that like, even like the Scott Van Pelts and stuff that are paying attention to this, as like small as it may seem, or maybe it's just one clip on the top 10, I think that's so awesome, because those are hard people to infiltrate with so many other sports media takes and games and, you know, just everything. So I think any recognition is great recognition. And going forward, it's like, if we have games like this, like, it's going to be crazy. I mean, that like little turnaround joint that the dude on the Archers did, I was like, see, in my mind, I wouldn't even think you could do that. Just like scoop it, not look, turn around. Like, that was filthy.
I wouldn't
like,
even know how
crazy.
to begin to know how to do that in that environment, like, too. Like, to be able to just have the thought process of like, yeah, this is my best opportunity to do this, I'm gonna do it. Like, to be able to think that quickly like that is insane to me.
But I think I was gonna say, I think it's very similar to like you being on stage. Like, I kind of understand, you know, being a performer in different ways. Like, there are improv moments on stage, or like in between songs, you know, you're kind of, and I've also seen like artists kind of change their set while on stage, because they're like, the energy of this show is going this way, so instead of doing this song, let's do this song. I think it's the same thing. Like, if you put a lacrosse player on stage and give them a set, they're going to do the set. Like, that's it. They're not going to know kind of to engage with the audience in a certain way and divert. So it's kind of just, but in sports, it happens so much faster than it does in other avenues. Kind of like in a show, you have 4 minutes, 5 minutes during an entire song to be like, oh, okay, maybe I should transition to this because of how this is going.
Right.
Whereas in sports, it's right away. You got to have it happen.
And you got, like, that's why it was so crazy to see that, because I probably watched it like 10 different times and then slowed it down. And like, there's a second where he knows he did it, but he's like, did I pull that off? And no one has even moved. They're like, wait, what? The goalie's like, did it go in? Oh, it went in. Okay, bet. And it's like, it's so fast. And to just think on your feet like that, to not even, because obviously if you just turn your body, you know, the keeper is going to be ready for a shot. So the fact that he just scooped it like that and then turned the other way, I was like, who did he pass that to? And it was like, oh, he passed that to the net. Bet. Like, sick, like crazy. And just seeing like I was sitting next to wifey and she was like, oh, these dudes are going at it. And like, there was 2 crazy big hits, like right in front of like the front row where like we were just kicking it with Paul. And he was like, oh, dude. And we were just chopping it up. And he was like, these dudes are killing each other. Like, we love it. Like, love to see this for the game. Because he was just so stoked that it was like, he was telling me, like, this overtime does not usually happen like this. Like, I have not seen a game, like, go 7 minutes into overtime. And I was like, word. And then that's right as Mans ripped one off the post from Atlas. And then they took it down and scored. Which, like, you could hear that. I was like, oh, ping. It's like, and that's crazy too. It's like a 16th of an inch that goes in off the post, and they're in the finals.
Game of inches. Like, yeah, I know that's said about
Game
like, you know, football and golf and like all these things, but like lacrosse is such a game of inches.
So
like,
true.
You know, there's a clip from last year's championship game. Yeah, where Connor Marr was on a run out and he beat Michael Sowers to the line by like this much, and it's like, that is a true example.
That's when you have to put your stick out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a true example of like this game truly being inches, hitting the pipe there. Like that's over just an inch to the left, and that's a goal instead of hitting the pipe. Like, those things change drastically. But like, also when you're making music, it's the same thing. Like, the inches aren't quite the same, but you move, you know, your finger to the left a little bit on that guitar string, it's going to make a different sound. Or if you change your voice implication, like all of that is these synonyms between music and sports are so close yet so different that people never really put them together.
No, I totally agree. And you know, for like, just to add on to that, it's like especially with music, it's like I don't think as many people put it together like what you just said, because it is a craft. It is like, it's endless how much you want to put in to make yourself better. And like, that like is all stuff you kind of learn, like being on tours where we did, you know, probably 220, 230 days a year. Like, you need to learn, like, this kind of honeymoon of touring is over. You need to take care of yourself. We need to wake up in the morning, like, start with like a shower room where there's a hotel that has a gym, or we go on a run, because like, it'll just drain you. And it's the exact same thing with athletes. It's like, you have to you have to do, like, even without injury, it's like you have to do all the prerequisites to make sure your body is able to absorb those hits, able to turn on the dime. And like, you know, these dudes are savages for being able to like turn on the dime on, you know, fields that most like football players get turf toe. Like, I didn't see many people slipping at all. Like, they're very, like, their plyo and agility is wild. To just be able to like duck people. I mean, it's like a 200-pound dude running towards you and you swim move him and you're like 5'8". That's crazy. Like, it was wild. Like, so cool seeing that side of it too, because, you know, you obviously get the highlights, but then being at the full game, you really kind of get more of like that measurement of how intense it is and how much these dudes want it. Like, and that goes back to them, you know, going back to a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job, and then, you know, just weekend warrioring it and crushing during the week, you know, when time permits. So it's like, I just hope they get, you know, the look that they deserve. And it's like, you know, it's a wild thing to break into, but like, I mean, dude, how the fuck do people play pickleball in your break?
Facts.
Like that thing is massive, dude. I'm like, yo, like we were driving through New York the other day. Someone turned the outside of a CVS into a fucking court. I'm like, bruh, like you can't do that with lacrosse because someone's gonna get bodied. But I mean, it's like it's crazy how it's like there's just like a few things that and like I don't with pickleball, it's like that's like the new game for, you know, the racquetball community that they always wanted. You know, to me, it's like it's fun, but it's like doesn't even come close to like the tactical and just like the aggressiveness and how just skill driven lacrosse is. Because, you know, it's like even going back around to like knock a soccer ball around with people, like you can tell who's dialed and who's not. Like you really, you know, like they put a lot of time into this. And like you said, on the side, it's not like they're going and signing autographs. They're working their ass off so they can do what they love. So it's like there's not much, you know, you can say to not just be fully behind those guys, because it's like that's the all-time, you know, under kind of underlying like real commitment. And I think that's really important to the game, because if more people see how dedicated people are and that it's run well and it's organized and they put on good events, and, you know, especially for like a family event to go like that. I know RJ and them were a little like, how do we do this show so it's not crazy? Do a clean set, you know, try to do a clean set. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited because I think like, you know, like you said, DJ, it's so much more than just the lacrosse game. And if you can get the rest of the world to buy into that, I think we'll be seeing lacrosse all over, which will be awesome too. I think the more the merrier in terms of, and look, in terms of that sport, it's like it's probably been around in this country the longest. And it's like it's just a matter of time, because I feel like, you know, there's enough people that want to get into this type of thing. And it's like, how I look at it from now on, NBA is already a wash. It's already bought up. NFL bought up. MLB bought up. Even esports. Like there's so many people, and there's so many people I know that are involved with esports now. And like, you know, it's like I like gaming every now and again, not like crazy or competitively, but the amount of money going into that, bro, is, you know, probably like close to the almost like $1 trillion. There is a lot of money in that. And it's like, I get that too, because it's obviously, you know, more of a like remote digital experience. And, you know, some of these dudes are absolutely filthy. But at the same time, give that funding to PLL. There'll be a game every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know?
Facts.
So it's a difficult thing, because checks and balances and all the, you know, all the behind the scenes stuff where, you know, I'm sure Paul and some of the investors have taken a bath, but that's not a reason to shut it down. Because when you have, you know, money coming in and you know, it's like money's always the most interesting, but at the same time, that money will get you nowhere if you don't have engagement and you don't have the interest.
Totally agree. And I mean, you know, I think you witnessed it kind of firsthand at the Summerfest, that clip that came out. You had like young dude, you know, dancing front stage for you, who
Yep.
that may have been his first interaction of knowing who you were. And then a couple rows behind him is our guy Dukes from the Crease Dive, just
Oh,
living
yeah.
his best life. I don't think I've ever seen a smile that big on Dukes' face ever.
Dude, I was dying. I was trying not to laugh within the breaks because I was just dying seeing him out there. And like that's another thing is like you know, like sometimes you get like great write-ups about shows. Sometimes, you know, people will absolutely just pile drive you into the ground. And what people don't realize is like if you can make something that very clearly has been, you know, and I pride myself on having guys that realize this too, where it's like, look around at your setting. If we're at a place and there's beer gardens and bars and it's ran by a frat, go crazy, do whatever y'all want to do. But in an environment where there's more, you know, kids games and events and stuff like that, you do need to keep that in mind. And like for me personally, it's like, yeah, there's a big stage, there's effects and everything, but going out into the crowd and like grabbing two of them and bringing them on stage, you know, it's like that's something they won't forget for a minute. And it kind of also brings you back to like I've always wished I could just go back for like a day and enjoy my life as a kid and be like, yo, fuck yeah, no responsibility. Let's go. Let's just go send it on stage. So it's like things like that, you know, and you know, not to say I've been perfect at all on stage with the way I've dealt with things in the past, but I think a lot of people see that, you know, we like to engage the crowd. We like to bring just basically just like a happy, this is a great time vibe without it being too telegraphed to where it's like, okay, this is kind of cat. So and it's a hard thing to do because some people will want to hear a certain set and other people are just finding out who you are. Maybe it's the first time hearing you. So either way, at the end of the day, you know, just like the PLL players do, it's like you got to go do your job regardless if you're happy or not, or if it's the biggest crowd on earth or it's a smaller crowd. It's like it's still your job to put that ball in the net. It's still your job to get those songs hammered and make it sound as good as possible.
I do have to ask because her meteoric rise and just like everything has like 100x'd over the last like year and a half now. You have a feature on a Taylor Swift remix. What's it been like having, you know, that on your resume, but then also, you know, over the last year or so, seeing like an artist who was already big, had such a huge like cult-like following fan base that they are ride or dies for Taylor Swift no matter what, and seeing her elevate that to just a new level and seeing what that can be like in the music industry.
I mean, it's nothing short of wild. You know, I think that in terms of getting to that point, there has to be so much aligned. There has to be a lot. I mean, it's like it probably couldn't have worked out better, even though at the time when Scooter Braun bought her masters, that seemed like the end all be all. Most people don't even realize it's like the masters. First of all, that was your lawyer's fault that those weren't renewed. So I mean, to be honest, I know 15 dudes in the music industry that are good guys, but that is a business move where, yo, I'm racking your shit because it's too good of an opportunity. And no one that is literally like a Scooter Braun, bro. You mean the guy that is literally backed by a bunch of other people, has managed the biggest artists in the world. He's going to be like, how does she feel? Cap. No way. Like, it's a business move. You do it. If she buys them back, that's fine. But it also gives her a lane to redo all of these songs. And, you know, for lack of a better word, it's kind of like the woe is me because now I don't have my songs in this. And then the fans feel bad. And everybody knows she doesn't need any more money than she already has. But it's like, when is enough enough? So it's interesting because like I like understand that process of, you know, redistributing your music. Obviously, it's like those are your babies, but the kind of like moment that she started doing the football stadiums, it clearly took a turn to like literally look like, I mean, I think the production every night was something wild in like the 18 to 20 million stage for the stage. And they probably literally make that in merch from that night in the stadium, you know? So that's like almost a conglomerate in terms of like an actual career as a music artist. Cause I mean, once you get that big, it's just, it's insane. You know, I mean, it must be really wild to like play a show in like Istanbul where they don't, you know, most of them don't even speak English and they're singing every single word. Like I always thought that was cool. And like in France or even in Jamaica where they're just like speaking in patois, but it's like that is a crazy, when you get that first experience or like someone like even just with a different dialect or a different accent comes up to you, it's working. Like that's when you know that, you know, and you can play it for someone too. Like I'll never forget this. I played this for, it was like 2011 and we were in Paris to like a press run. And I played like Drive Me Crazy and All Night Longer for these French girls. And they straight up laughed in my face. Like, that's not you. Like, this is trash. And I was like, oh, bruh.
That's wild.
I was like, this is crazy. So I basically got dog walked out of the room. And I was like, wow. I was like, this is not what I was expecting. But it's like that just made me want to get back into it and like kind of, you know, kind of like not break down why in their mind did they not like this record. I was looking at it from like, okay, if I don't know who I am and I hear this record and then boom, the whole mentality changes because it's all cultural. So it's like, if I played it now where they have, you know, a bunch of pop artists, a bunch of DJs, you know, who knows if that would be the same answer, but it always like resonated with me because you're never going to be able to make every person happy or satisfied, whether it's a set list or a song. And it comes back to the art of like sport and the art of creating your own destiny where it should be the most important what you feel is the most important. Like when I make songs, I used to make songs thinking about how is this girl in the Midwest going to take this song? And then once you realize that it doesn't fucking matter because if you love it and you put the time in to do it, it'll resonate with anyone that understands or has been riding and also has the ability to totally like get other people gravitating towards it. And guess what, bro? If you love it and they don't like it, fuck them. Peace.
Facts. And I think that's a mentality you have to have like in anything that you do, whether you're an artist, an athlete, or, you know, you're working a 9 to 5 as a lawyer. Like you have to have like that mentality of like, I got to do what's best for me. I got to do what's best for the people that I know are riding for me. And if not, like, see ya.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I think like once I kind of shifted gears to the point where I was like, oh, like this has worked the last 4 times where I like this record. I love making records and then playing them live before I've released them because it gives you such an upper hand to see the energy of the crowd or, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they're just excited to see you and see songs that they know. So you can't judge everything off of like 1 or 2 run-throughs, just like you can't judge everything off of how you played in a couple games, but you can learn and pin down what you got right and what you got wrong. And it's like, maybe we switched this part because this is where we lost this energy on the last part. And that's like the best way I've learned to do it, because everyone's attention span has been shrunk so much to the point where, you know, short form content now, it's like, bro, just bring Vine back, because I ain't trying to watch 2 minutes. And it's like 2 minutes. Like before it was 2 minutes, it was like a 15-minute, you know, Star Wars scroll that comes down the bitch. And it's like, that was fine. Now 2 minutes is too long. So, you know, it's like, it really comes down to, and for me with the creative side of it, it's like I was watching one of the filthy stick handler dudes in indoor lacrosse league. And like, bro, the shit he's doing off the wall and just creating that goes hand in hand with creating melodies and bars. It's all practice. It's like iron sharpens iron. So it's like, that's why I hate being in the same room and like, unless it's my artist that I'm helping build, I don't like putting myself in the room where, you know, I'm pound for pound or statistically or career success wise the best. I like being that dude that's the fly on the wall, listening to 9 other people that are way more accoladed out than me, because I ain't gonna say shit most of the time. If you're like, yo, and you're gassed up about your record, you're like, let me play this, give me the aux. Guarantee you, it's usually, yeah, that's cool. You never want to hear that's cool. I'd rather be like, throw that shit in the trash and light it on fire than that's cool.
100%.
You know?
When it comes to music too, I feel like it's like one of those like almost rite of passage things, or like one of those like surreal moments when you hear an athlete kind of get like name dropped in a song. Who do you think the first pro lacrosse player to get name dropped in a song is going to be?
Oh, that's a tough one. Dude, to be honest, it might be the dude on the Whipsnakes that was just literally hurdling everyone. Rambo.
Well, I guess he kind of already has been. I was just thinking about that. Like the name Rambo has been said. Like granted, they're not referencing him,
right?
But
right.
Like,
I mean, and that's like that's what I was talking. I was talking to Paul and RJ about it. As I was like, what could be super cool for us to do? It's like, and like ESPN's really good at this with, and their music department has been really good with aligning with local, like Connecticut artists, like, which I love. Like, I love hearing like Annoyed, and like, you know, dudes used to talk shit about like me and Chris Webby. I don't even, you know, I never even had a problem with Chris. It's great to hear people, you know, that you came up with, like with their songs on ESPN. And I love that they've been leaning more into like the New England, like, you know, talent pool, and it's not just like sent to them by the labels. Because like, if you think about it, it's like the other night there was a song playing on Thursday Night Football, and you type in like the first 4 words of the hook and 900,000 other people have already put it in there. So I think like, and music does go so hand in hand with athletes like that. There's nothing that can separate that, because like it also helps your focus. It helps you, like for some players, like they straight up don't even have music in their headphones. They have like Rain or the Calm app or shit like that. It's like getting on your, you know, and some people are like, you're a kook for like saying this, but it's like you get on your frequency, you get on what makes you feel like the best version of yourself. And like I tell all my like, you know, younger boys that are looking to do music or production or whatever, it's like, bro, you want to smoke weed? Fine. You want to binge drink? You'll blaze out in fucking 2 years. You want to do anything else? It's like, you're on your own, and I don't want shit to do with you, because this is going to be a testament to not only your character, not only your resilience, but there's going to be times where you're just going to be like, fuck this. Like, I'd actually rather just work a 9 to 5 and like have some side hustles on the side. You really do have to be built and know that you're going to break through all the bullshit people are saying of how hard it is. and just be ready to face that adversity. And like, I think it's so much better to know that it's coming, to not be like, hopefully, because no one's scraping by. No one's ever been great without adversity. You know, it's like there is no rise to the top if you can't, you know, put that ego down. And just like that, for a lot of people, that is that third step that P was talking about. It's realizing that, you know, you do someone a favor down here, and then even if you're up here, that person can easily lap you in a year and a half, 2 years. And it's all, you know, that's just by design. And certain teams, you know, piggyback off other people, and a lot of agents do the same routing and stuff. But like, really, once you realize that you're never competing with anyone but yourself yesterday, that's like, you won't fully get it, because like comparison is the thief of joy. It's like, why would I make this great song and I'm in love with it, right? But ruin your whole day by going to the top 10 and like listening to those songs, because you can't compare yourself to anyone but you. It's easy to do that with social media these days. But like like I said, it goes hand in hand with how athletes get to that elite level, where it's like, you know what? It's like, if I'm not pushing myself to do this, which makes it even more commendable, like I said, because they're doing, you know, they have their life and their fams and all that on the side. But until you realize that it's just you against you, you're going to have so many other like convoluted, confusing battles in your head that you're probably the only one thinking about it. Like, the other person isn't like, oh, let me compare myself to this guy. I mean, maybe, but you'll never have a way of knowing that, you know? So for me, it's like, I'm a big checklist guy, because like my ADHD will just go through the roof. And it's like, the more I lay out what I need to do, the easier it is to just focus on my life. And it's like, that's something that I wish I learned, like, when I was on the road and with RCA, just because when you're young and you jump right into everybody knowing who you are, and you're selling out, you know, the biggest kind of amphitheaters in the country, and you're indie, everyone thinks that it's because something. Like, it's because Sammy Adams' real dad is a politician. Like, what? It's like, I don't even know what that. I was like, I don't even know who picked that up, but I was like, bro, you're a clown. And then other people were saying, like, you know, we bought a bunch of the copies of Boston's Boy on 18,000 different credit cards. I'm like, let me know when someone's credit card score is that high. Where I can open 19,000. I was like, bro, you guys are crazy. But to be honest, that is a time where I wish I knew about the competition thing, just being within yourself, because I was so fucking tight, because I wasn't cheating. I wasn't doing anything except basically doing shows up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and any college that, you know, will have me in a grungy fucking frat basement. Once you start selling tickets, you've laid the foundation. You've laid the groundwork. And that's just something they didn't see coming. And I mean, it was amazing to catch the industry with their pants down. But you also, when you do that and you say no to a lot of people, you get blacklisted. And there's a lot of that goes on. You know, there's a lot that goes into it with the success. And totally a lot that it kind of in a sense just gets scary, because the only thing people care about is just capital and how to get this to a level. Like, I remember not even being asked if I wanted to do like certain like stadium or arena dates, and it's like, oh, we just penciled you in because, like, why not? And it's like, it's like, whose show is this? Like, if I'm popping out to Daddy Yankee show, I don't know. Like, unless I'm with my boy Enrique, with my boy Enrique, I ain't trying to go. Like, I'm not trying to be on stage for 45 minutes for that.
As somebody who's seen Daddy Yankee, you don't need to be. And that was because I went to a small liberal arts college who brought Daddy Yankee for our spring concert. Like, you following him up would have been like, I would have been like, cool, Sammy Adams, but like, the whole pre-show would have been like, why am I here?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's who like in their mind is a bigger artist, and I'm usually like, yo, put us on first, because I would love to go first and end this set with like 3 bangers and all night longer, because usually the gym is just like, have a good one, everyone's gone. And it's like, when I've been the headliner, I've had like some people clear out but then come back in. I've never had it just straight clear out. Which, you know, it goes back to like what I said, you got to do your job anyways, even if everyone leaves. And I think like that's where we are in the music industry right now, where there's so many people that would just show their true colors if people just started hitting the exits like halfway through the show. And it's like, you know, it just goes to show, like, no matter where you're playing, no matter what you're doing, it's about preparation. It's about treating, like, probably the number one rule with me and my team, just treating everyone with the golden rule. Like, you want to be treated, if you can help out, if you can be, you know, of any assistance to the people that are already running something that obviously is going to have, you know, just miscommunications. There's going to be snags here and there. We try to just keep it a stack and try to help out as much as we can. And that's how I feel like you build trust with so many people. And you want to get, like, they want to invite you back. Because at the end of the day, it's like you can pay 100 bands for someone to do a 60-minute show, but, you know, they're expecting a big crowd, mad production, you know, all this crazy footage and stuff. And it's like, when that doesn't happen, let's see how great of a stand-up guy that person is. And, you know, like, I like to just, like, you know, be an optimist as much as I can. It's more and more difficult these days, just because, like, you know, the current situation we're in, I feel like it's hard to even have conversations. It just all turns into a melting pot that turns into an argument. But it's like I said, music and athletics, dude, it's like they go so hand in hand. I can't tell you how many games, like, right before we were about to take the field, I just had to get those, like, last listens into just one of them joints, like, let's go. And I was talking to Paul and RJ. I was like, bro, it's like, if we had a banger of like a PLL song that could be the song for the league, like, and you do it like and I was telling him, the way you write it is, it's like a catchy ass hook, and then the verses are just interchangeable. So it never runs out because you can just switch players. And like, I had this idea to do that with the NBA, but they are already so synced up with SportsCenter and probably like a bunch of music directors that they kind of get their marching orders. But like, something like that could be super cool to like bring awareness to lacrosse, and then other people pop in and they do one. Like, even on TikTok, what like fans and stuff have been doing for their city, regardless of if it's trash or like a parody or whatever, like, they're starting to see that on social media and like sing it in the locker room. So if like there's stuff like that, it could get to the point where like each, you know, team like either knows that song by heart or knows at least the part that one of their players or their mascot or team is in. And like, that's the fun part about music, is like, you can you can create something like that, and then literally like the media team and RJ can cook up an edit that literally hits all those on the head, you know? So, and then that opens up like doing it at halftime at games and having other people jump on it. Like that's what, like I'm not on TikTok as much, but like I do love that duet thing because it gives other people the idea to do that. And that's almost like the new remix factor of like what we were doing at YouTube. So it's kind of really about how you spin it. But I mean, I think the dopest thing about this league is that like it hasn't grown into this capacity where it's like, are we too big here? I think it's filled up to the perfect point where it's like, now we can get the real vested interest to blow this thing out of the water. Cause it's like, I mean, it's really like, it's about visibility as much as it is about the excitement for the sport, because it's like, just like I said, I mean, I'm going to get absolutely cranked by the pickleball community, but like, come on, let's be honest. Lacrosse is way more fun to watch.
100%.
And play. And I'm not even good.
Facts.
So you brought up like, you know, and this is my last question. I got to get out of here.
Oh, you're good.
You brought up the, you know, connection of sports and music and how, you know, you had your pregame playlist. Did that playlist follow you into, you know, performing? Do you still listen to music from other people before you hop on? And then what is that one unexpected song in your pregame or hype playlist? Like mine, for example, is Party in the USA. I heard it before.
Oh, bro. Okay. Yes. Cause I was about to be like, I hope he gives me an example because this first one's going to be wild. 1,000 Miles, Vanessa Carlton.
Yes. Let's go.
Yes.
See, like I heard Party in the USA before a 7th grade basketball game and then just went like nuts that day. So I was like, yo, it's in now before. And I like coach now lacrosse. So like I still listen to that playlist before I coach, and I have to listen to Party in the USA before the game starts. Like,
yo, and it's
mandatory.
there's something about those two, and like it's like, I'm so glad you brought that up, because even in like our playlist, when like our warm-up playlist at Trinity, like everyone else would have like the "let's go, if you want and you can get it, let me know," bro. We had like Owl City Fireflies, 1,000 Miles, like maybe just like the perennial Coldplay in there that's like a house remix. But like it was all like, it's all stuff that's like, and the funniest thing to me about Party in the USA is like the person that looks more like a clown is the person that thinks you're a clown for listening to that. Because everyone behind you will be like, "Oh, hold the fuck up! We're not gonna tarnish a classic. Like, get out of here!" Like, and like those type of joints, like it was funny to see it on the other teams, because like they're, instead of being like, let's kill someone, they're like ripping it up and they're getting their techs in to that. So it's like that's the cool part about music is, you know, it doesn't have to be always that. Like, you know, it's like I love when I like see like a highlight or something on X or Instagram of someone and like they're playing like the Rock song, and it's like, see, that would not pump me up.
Right.
It's about pain. It's about power. It's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good on that.
It was awesome chopping it up with you. I'm sure you'll be back on soon. So definitely we'll be around longer next time.
Yeah, 100%.
I got a couple more for you.
Yeah, let's go, bro.
You know, when it comes to just performing and everything, I know you're Boston's boy through and through, but what are some of your favorite cities that you've hit, you know, touring and that you enjoy just, you know, going back to when you see that city pop up on a schedule for you?
Tons. Yeah, I would say probably Boston, Chicago. We love some Minneapolis, New York. Did I say New York?
Nice.
New York. Some spots in Jersey randomly go crazy. And And then like we've been doing a bunch of SEC schools, like anywhere down. Like we just did South Carolina, in Columbia, and it was like it's crazy to go do like a show the week before, and it's like probably 500 people, and then you do like a 6,500, and it's just like a Darty day send is just so off the Richter scales. Because it's like they have a football game or it's after the football game. It's going to be an absolute show either way.
They got like over 100,000 people just popping out for
just absolutely just ripping through, like which is awesome. And then we played a show in Calgary for the first time at the beginning of the summer. And dude, that place rips. Like I also had no idea it was so far west. So like, I think I was flying from New Orleans to Dallas and then Dallas to Calgary. And I was like, is there like a crazy time change? And I looked on the map and I'm like, bro, I'm like by Vancouver. Like I'm like over Montana. I like didn't know that. But it was so sick. And like I'd never really been to like I guess it's like their like state or province. Like I've never been to Alberta in the summertime. It was like always in the winter. So it was either brick or it's like at a ski lodge or something. So that was super cool. And with Canada, it's crazy because like you can play in like Ontario or Alberta or any of these places. And then like that place that wasn't where you played is like hitting your team. Like, how do we get him here for this? Like they're very competitive with that. Which I thought was really cool, but like I also totally didn't expect one of our like, most fun summer shows to be in Calgary of all places.
Sick. I do gotta ask because I'm a South Jersey guy, so Philly is like,
yes, sir.
What's the Philly scene like whenever you've hit Philly?
Oh, Philly's fire. We did where did we play? The last time we played Philly, we set up this like it was like I think it was like a 14 camera live stream, and I think it was Foundry.
Yeah,
we played. So that was sick. Because it was like I think it's the last 3 days of tour, and we kind of like saved all our production for that. And like that Philly's one of those cities where we love doing like a small show that's like super intimate. Like the last time we did one, literally just like threw it at a dive bar and just did door walk-ups. And so we sold like 150 tickets, and that's when you have like the crazy like middle of the set audible because someone's like yelling to hear this song, and like that's always super fun to do that because then that same 150 like group of people will come to the next show, but the next show will have production value and all this other stuff which you want to hit your cues. So like with those type of cities, like when we play in Chicago, we'll play like one night or like a Lollapalooza after party, and then like two more after that, because you just go and kind of play your like banger songs, and the rest of it's just like hanging out with peeps. So yeah, definitely more like Eastern Seaboard, and then I'm just not a huge fan of like the scene out in LA. I actually love San Diego more than LA. But it's always fun to play out there, but the best crowds are definitely like our Midwest and East.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like that's understandable because it's like I feel like music was getting circulated at the same rate and the same platforms back then, but once you get like the younger generations on the TikToks, on the Instagram and Snapchat, it's like it doesn't lose any like value or merit, but at the same time it's like what we were talking about before, it's that trickle down effect from like an older sibling or a cousin or a friend, which is crazy because like word of mouth is still like people still love talking shit.
Yep. And they will forever.
So it's like, oh, I heard this joint. It's like, oh, it's trash, or it's like, or it's fire. It's like, I really don't care either way. As long as people are talking about, like, I guess the worst outcome is for people to not talk about it.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I know you're a big Arsenal fan. I am in
Man, you.
Oh man, your Wikipedia's got it wrong.
Someone put Arsenal on Man
Somebody
U?
put Arsenal on your Wikipedia
The
page.
motherfuckers. Oh yeah, I gotta switch that. I ain't a gooner.
But and I know you grew up playing soccer and everything. What are some similarities that you kind of see from like following along with soccer to the PLL? And then I am currently on my my journey to figuring out what my Premier League team is going to be. So,
Nice. Well,
what do you think is the best route there?
Okay, so I was kind of like thrown into Man U because one of my best friends lives in Scotland, and we hit a Man U game together. So I felt love with the stadium. So here's like a low key rule they won't tell you, but they will make fun of you if you do it. You can't be a fan of the team unless you've been to a game at the stadium.
Good to know.
So I would say if you like pick a EPL team and you're in the UK, try to schedule it with the two teams you like.
That's a good call.
And then make your choice off that. It'll probably be whoever's going to be the home side, because there's literally nothing like European football games. Like I've seen the craziest games ever, like Barcelona versus Real Madrid when it was like Beckham, Zidane, Ronaldinho on Barca. So it's a lifestyle out there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the best way to do it, because like you could go see like, I mean, it happens very rarely, but like you go see Man City versus like, Fulham or like Swansea City, and they upset them, and it's like for some reason, like I'm a hammer now, dude.
Yeah.
Or like I'm a swan now. Let's go, and I'm all in. So it's like and like EPL teams, it's like I personally love English Premier League. Just like such a class fucking set of teams playing football, and UEFA. So it's always tough when it gets to UEFA, because I definitely do have some favorites, but if it's not my team, it's like I'm just gonna shut the hell up because people know I'm a Man U fan.
I just love, like, my favorite part about like Premier League and just like European football in general is the entire relegation format. Like I think that is like the most exhilarating thing ever. And like we've joked about it, and I even brought it up to Mike Rabel when he came on the show a couple of years ago. I was like, "Did you ever see like an alternate form of relegation where like eventually when you guys get to like 12 teams in the league and you have like your A tour and your B tour, B tour starts on the West Coast, A tour starts on the East Coast, they meet up in the middle for the All-Star game, and then so you're still getting all the teams to go to the markets and everything, they just flip-flop their schedule." And I was like, that would be so sick for the PLL.
That would be awesome. And I mean, it's, and like, what's interesting about like the pace of the game is I've never seen anything that's just like that run and gun. But there is also like, it's like when I watch like Premier League match with someone that's not really a soccer fan, they don't understand that like when the ball goes to the top of the box and then is played around, and like the possession aspect that I was watching, especially in like the Atlas Whipsnakes game, was like they set up so many plays to, have it be that end all be all sick goal. And it's like, I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is to score on a goalie in that frame, but these guys make it look so easy. And it's like that smart, like that smart type of play, and like having like just like you know exactly where you are, who's behind you, this dude's open, which could potentially open up that guy. It's all like it's all like almost like one touch passing. Like dudes aren't holding the ball mad long, cradling, and then, after 15 seconds getting hit, passing it. It's like bing, 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 like trying to find that open guy. And that's how you slip people in on through balls. It's like, if this defender's here, it's like, he's going to track you here, cut him off, through ball in, bomb, goal. And it's like, same thing with like those insane passes where it's like behind the back, the goalie's looking there and the ball's already in the net.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that was crazy, because I was like, wow, so this is literally like, it's like the top of the D setup for like actual football matches, which is sick. And then they move it around, and like obviously you can go behind the goal. If that was implemented in soccer, that'd be chaos.
Insane.
But it's like that's what I got out of it, which I thought was sick, is that like the setup of the plays, and that, it's like these aren't just like, hey boys, go out there and give it your all. It's like those are designed setup plays. Like there's picks, there's screens, like there's certain like things you need to do to get open, even if you're not the guy. So I thought that was really cool to like be able to pick up on in person, because you don't really get to see that like high pace, how crazy it is up and down, how winded these guys get. Like you got to be in tip top shape to not be sucking wind,
It's insane.
Which in OT, it was like, dude, I was like, how are these guys even standing, especially for another 6 minutes?
Right. Like I was watching that game unfold, and I was like, this never, like you said, like Paul was saying, like this never happens. Like normally it's within that first 2 minutes and it's game over.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just watching the back and forth. I was like, this overtime period's halfway over. Like this is nuts.
No, I was, because it's always like fun to like figure out stuff like that too, because it's like I had no idea how much it was, and it was so back and forth that I get it, because it's like someone's gonna get winded, not get back on D or whatever, but it's like that, like it definitely, you gotta have some wild cardio ready for that, and you're taking hits, and just like controlling. It's like it's an interesting, like it's an interesting way to try to see how they perceive the field as professionals, and like locking onto a couple of those dudes, you can see like why they're only up a certain way. Like they're a workhorse to get back, but then they're straight up right back, like on offense. So it's super like I think another huge thing that relates is the counterattack game.
Yes.
Because if you go balls to the wall and you got a couple guys at half and they come steaming down with 4 people, that's almost a guaranteed goal. And it's just like the good teams, like you can go down a man, and if you have a good counter with like 2 wingers that are fast and a guy that knows how to control the middle, you can go down to 9 people and you can get caught on the counter. So that was sick, because it's like it clearly has both aspects of like why defense wins championships and why it's so important, because that is probably the quickest transition, maybe besides hockey, on counters,
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, we've got a kick-ass championship matchup too. Who do you think's taking it home in Philly, the Archers or the Whipsnakes?
Sir, you want to be on it? You want to be on your podcast?
There we go. The algorithm loves dogs.
So it's, what is it? Whipsnakes
and Archers.
Ooh, that's gonna be a good one. Dude, that Whipsnakes game was so good, but the Archers looked on point.
It's nuts. It's like such a sick matchup, because like the Archers,
yeah, that's gonna be
the defending champs.
Tough one. So that's in Philly, right?
Yeah,
that's gonna be sick. Yeah, I like. It's interesting, because I was like, even watching the chaos in the Archers game, I was like, damn, I feel like both of these teams could give Whipsnakes a run, but then again, like they have that extra time off to just like chill, get ready. I don't know. Whipsnakes might take it, and Archers have they have the pressure of having the chip on their back anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild.
I think Yeah, it's gonna be such a sick game.
Yeah, like I think it could go down as one of, if not the best, like championship matchup because both teams are just so stacked, like top to bottom. Like both goalies have been playing out of their minds. Like it's gonna be so awesome.
Dude, both of those guys are gonna. Hopefully, they both have insane games because some of those, like some of the saves. That's another thing you don't really see because like it's almost like hockey. Like you can hear if it gets saved.
Mhm.
You can't really see it. And then they tried to do like the whole blue ring around the hockey puck like back in the day, and it's like that's not gonna work.
Right.
So like being there, it's crazy to see. Like I don't even know how a goalie is like, oh yeah, let me put my stick here because I would have just absolutely no idea where it's going. So I'm sure there's a lot of like tact to that and skill, obviously, where you're reading the body position or like they're maneuvering a certain way, and then you got to be aware that if they flip that across, you got to be on that side too. So like some of the saves were nuts. I was like, there's no way he's getting that, and it's like ding ding off the post, like
insane.
Sick.
Like the goalie, just like the precision that they have of just like one movement is the change in a game is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's wild. And they're like, there was so many good saves in that OT. Like, that's why I think everyone in Paul was like, dude, this is nuts. Like, there should be like 4 goals by now.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so cool.
You just released a single and a couple remixes this summer.
Yes, sir.
Is there a tour on the horizon that we could be seeing from the man, the myth, the legend, Sammy Adams?
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of taking my time, like going a little bit kind of back into like the electronic kind of dance kind of stuff. That's like all like same feel good type of vibes. But me and JC will have another mixtape that's literally probably done today. So that's going to be fire. A little more like experimental mixed with a little hip hop and electronic, which like we always usually just drop like a single from one of them and then drop a whole free mixtape. So we're trying to figure out how to get it on platforms without having to go through like the streaming chaos. Just because it's so much better to just like get something out free and have people like go download it on like even like there's like a couple mixtape sites that you can still like monetize and not get thrown to the wolves by the streaming services. But definitely like that project soon. I have a couple crazy just like singles that I have to package together. Because it's not in that lane. It's like kind of more like a I wish summertime, I hate college type of tempo. Which like I'm in love with a couple of these songs, and then we have fast stuff. So it's kind of like that's the fun part of putting together like a bunch of songs to become a project. But I also really do notice that songs mesh together when they're made within a certain time period. Because that's just what you're going through. That's what you're reflecting on. But yeah, tons of new music. Tour we'll do a bunch of college stuff this fall and winter. And then I've been just digging the spring tours because like once winter's out the window, dude, you have like those 3 months where people are just sending it at colleges, ready to get back outside. I mean, we really haven't toured since after COVID. So it'll just be nice to get back on the road and get some shows under our belt where we don't have like, let's put up a 19-foot wall because of COVID. Right. It's like, what? It's like, what do you want me to do? I fucking show my mask on?
Oh man, I mean, I'm stoked for it. And when you're in Philly, I'll be rolling through for sure. Just let me know. And
yes, sorry, dude, 100%. Well, and I'll keep you posted too. Like, we're kind of putting together a bunch of like new ideas where it's like not just like doing songs or doing like live shows, like doing DJ sets, doing like basically just like pop-ups everywhere, which like I feel is like a really underutilized thing, especially when like people know who you are. It's like, and like I said, it's like I don't care if I bring out 50 people or 5,000. It's about like each person you can get, whether it's 50 or fucking 1,000, whether it's one. It's like that person will probably go tell 20 people about it. So like the crazy thing is like there's so many digital marketers now and people that are trying to like boost your page or get you more followers. And it's like, dude, I've went through that with so many like different like labels and partners. And it's like, all they do is like buy followers, then I delete them. And then it's like, you know, you can never get your actual trajectory back on what it should be naturally. I think like all my stuff, like I probably took like a 50,000 follower hit, but like I don't care because it's like as long as the people that follow me that are fans that are, you know, basically the consumers of the music, it's like that's all I really care about. So it's like I don't give a shit if it says 23 million or 2,300. It's like as long as I'm getting that out to the right people, you know, that's really all it is. So I'm definitely stoked to talk to the boys about getting a little PLL song in the mix.
That has to happen. I mean, hey, you
has to happen.
Feel free to drop outside the box in the song if you want.
Oh, bro, you know that's going in there. Come on.
Let's make that happen for sure. And like I said, when you're in Philly, I'm 100% there because, bro, I've been listening to your shit since I was in like 8th grade. And like, we're not that off in age. Like, you're like 6 years older than me. So it's like seeing your trajectory, like when I'm in high school and going into college was like the coolest shit ever. And like, I've been such a fan. Like, my first job, I was working at PacSun. We used to play your shit in PacSun all the time.
Hell yeah!
So
I love hearing stories like that, dude. Like
it's the best.
It makes like everything worth it, you know. And it's and that's why it's exciting to see like if this is like stage 1, 2 for PLL, it's gonna go, dude.
And I mean, the Olympics are right around the corner. Lacrosse is going to be in the Olympics in LA.
Let's go. I forgot about that. Ooh, we might have to make it out to LA.
I know. I'm already looking at Airbnbs for the whole week.
we might have to pull up to LA.
Might have to make that happen. Sammy Adams, it's crazy that you came on the show. I'm so stoked that we've gotten to like connect and get to know each other over the past couple of weeks through social media and now having you on the pod. Anytime, you're welcome on the show, man. We appreciate the hell out of you. Plug anything that you need. Obviously, follow Sammy on social media, guys, and keep your eyes and ears peeled for that PLL song.
Yeah. Just at Sammy Adams on everything: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I don't even know what my Snapchat is, so I'm not gonna plug that. But dude, thank you for having me. It was an absolute honor. And you know, let's run it back once I got that demo for you.
Hell yeah, dude. And anything we can do to promote, you know, the new music, tour, whatever, we're absolutely in your corner, brother.
Perfect. Thank you, man. Bro, thanks again for having me on.
Sammy Adams, everybody. What an icon. Deej, you kicked it for the first hour. He gave us an extra half hour after that. And guess what, guys? We got to let the people know, Deej. Ready? We got a little bit of breaking news right here for the people after this Sammy Adams interview. Sammy Adams enjoyed himself so much on this episode. He flat out told us, because I said, hey, you're welcome on the show anytime. We'd love to have you again. He said, let's run it back after the championship. So guess what, everybody? On next week's episode as well, the one and only multi-platinum award-winning artist, producer, musician extraordinaire, and soon-to-be recurring guest, Sammy Adams, joining us on OTB next week as well. Deej, what is our lives?
Insanity.
We had a multi-platinum recording artist enjoy himself so much on our show
that he's coming back.
He's coming back a week later.
We're the best.
we're homies with Sammy Adams.
It's insane.
10th grade me, I've said this so many times, I said it in the interview, 10th grade me is doing backflips.
Once again,
internal stored like childhood. Like never in a million years did I think I'd ever speak to Sammy Adams, let alone have him as a guest on a podcast I'd be doing, let alone having him back on said podcast a week later.
All I'm going to say is, like I said on the pod, I'm not going to say how old I was when he was making music to spare.
He's not on right now.
Y'all.
Trust tree.
No, I can't do that to him.
Deej was a young boy.
He gonna listen to this. So
well,
I don't want
everyone can do the math. That. I was in 10th grade.
Yeah, but I was a young boy, and so yeah, to have him on and kind of just relish in that and be able to speak to both music, sports, and his like professional career and how it all ties into what the PLL is doing was awesome.
And I know you had to duck out for career oblos, but he did say that springtime sounds like tour season. So he's got new music dropping soon, which is going to be awesome. Very excited. So yeah, stay tuned next week as well. Sammy Adams joining us with more than likely, hopefully us continuing our tradition. I know it got skipped last year just because of DJ and I both having work obligations, but we are working to restore the winning coach of the PLL Championship Game on the show following the championship. So very excited about next week already. Big thank you to Sammy Adams for giving us 90 minutes of his time on the show. Had a blast and can't wait to run it back next week. But let's get into our PLL Finals preview, and it is brought to you by our PLL app code. Guys, the PLL app is a game changer, and it has elevated PLL coverage since its inception. The PLL app has articles, videos, every press conference from every game, videos, behind-the-scenes content, PLL fantasy, trivia on the daily. It's got gamified questions for every game week. You name it, the PLL app has got it to enhance your PLL fandom infinitely. DJ and I use it all the time. Chase uses it all the time. Hoots uses it all the time. CFO Margie is on that dang all the time and talks about how awesome of an app it is. Download the PLL app, and if you haven't already, go to the redeem code section and type in OTB pod, and you're going to get 500 XP on your account. Easiest way to level up. And when you level up in the app, you get amazing perks. Deej, you're already at MVP status. I'm like this close, and we'll get there by the end of the weekend. Once you hit MVP status, you get a nice little once a month 25% off in the PLL shop discount code, plus a whole bunch of other just amazing assets that get added to your account. Download the PLL app, use code OTB pod in the redeem code section, get 500 XP on your account. Deej, it's the finals. It's the finals countdown. The preview for the PLL finals is here. It's the Whips. It's the Archers, the defending champions, the first ever champions. It's going to be one hell of a game, I'll tell you that much. Like, this is, I think, as good as the New York Atlas were this year. They definitely had their flaws as the season went on. I think TLN tweeted they started the year 4-0, and then they went 3-3 the rest of the way, and then they went 0-1 in the playoffs. I genuinely think these two 6-4 teams, and obviously the Whips have their 2 playoff wins, and the Archers have theirs. These two teams, pound for pound across the board, top to bottom of their rosters, are going to provide us the best championship game we could have gotten this year. And I'm very excited to watch them duke it out. They've never played each other in the playoffs. It's always a great matchup when they play in the regular season. And they both do a lot of the same things well, which is going to be awesome to see how Stags and Bates and their coaching staffs kind of approach the opposite of how to combat it. You know, you look at their 2024 stats this year. The Whips average 13.5 scores per game. The Archers average 12.9. Scores against average. Whips are 12.4. The Archers are 12 flat. The Whips scored 135 times. The Archers scored 129. 1-point goals. The Whips scored 117. The Archers scored 115. Shooting percentage. Whip shot 29% on the season. Archers shot 30%. Shots per game. Whipsnakes 44. Archers 41.3. Face-off, I think, is the biggest discrepancy, and obviously there's a reason because Joe Nardella is one of, if, you know, there's an argument to be had by some people, I'm sure, that he is the best. Nard's faced off at 62%, and as a team, they faced off at 62%. I don't know exactly what Nard's full-on stats were because obviously some guys took face-offs for them as well from violations and things like that. And the Archers faced off at 55% as a team. Save percentage, it flips a little bit in the Archers' favor, 57% as opposed to 51%. But across the board, they are eerily similar in all those major categories, which is that just makes for awesome like theatrics and a great game on the surface and viewing it on paper. And we all know the talent that are on these teams that are going to make it a great game in real life.
We talked about why I didn't want a certain team there, so I'm not even going to go there. I do think it's cool that we're going to get a matchup we've never seen before. That's what I'm really excited about in terms of the playoffs. You know, regular season is what it is, and it's exciting that the PLL regular season games are the way they are because of how condensed the season is, and every game does matter. So they are really putting it all out there, but everybody does get that extra kick because it's the playoffs. And these two teams play with such a level of intensity when it comes to the playoffs. So seeing them clash is going to be awesome. And like you mentioned, they're both really good at taking advantage of hitting singles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in reference of that, it's not necessarily like hitting 1-pointers and not 2-pointers. It's simply just taking the right shot.
Right.
Making the right decision. Like, so many times offenses take the first shot or you know, they kind of just run through the motion of the play and take a shot rather than actually looking for the best opportunity every time they're on that side of the field. And I think these are two teams that do that very well. But also on the flip side, there are two defenses that know that that's what teams are trying to do, and they have a great way of shutting that down. So it's set up to be a very tight game, possibly overtime, and absolute fireworks.
And I mean, there's a personal hometown title on the line for King of Philadelphia. Obviously, there's three faces of the league that are Philly boys through and through, and that's Matt Rambo, Grant Ament, who will be competing this weekend, and our guy Michael Sowers in that conversation as well. And all three of them have won a championship in the city of Philadelphia in the PLL. But now Grant and Matt Rambo get to go toe-to-toe to see who gets to win their second title in Philadelphia, because obviously the Whips won the championship series in Utah. But it's going to be fun to see those two kind of battling it and having both teams with somebody from Philadelphia competing. And obviously, you know, we had that last year with Grant and Michael Sowers, and it does like just add that much more juice into the stadium. And we've been to a multitude of these championship games at Subaru Park, which is one of the coolest venues ever. Like, I love going to Subaru Park, and I promise I will get to a Union game there eventually. It's so funny that I've never been to a Union game at Subaru Park, but I've been all over that stadium covering PLL championship games and one semifinal. But we both can agree that, like, when there's Philly fans in the stands and rooting for somebody on the team that is like, it's their hometown, it just injects like another level of that championship flair and the ambiance of what a championship game is meant to be.
Yeah, there's always the pockets of family and friends that normally start up the chants and really get the energy going. Even if it's normally directed at that one person at first, it normally spreads to the rest of the team, and people around them tend to jump in. It really brings about that feeling of being at a game and seeing people support, having fans. And the championship is a great way to do that. And the way that Subaru Park is set up and how they do a great job of splitting fans. Like, ironically, a lot of the Water Dog and Archer fans end up on the same side there. Or, just in general, what two teams are there, they end up on split sides. So there is that true, like, kind of divide now. And you hear the two different sides giving their support, and it gets pretty loud in there. So it brings about the best energy of a championship game.
And I mean, that doesn't even mention the other connections that the Utah Archers have to Philadelphia, with their entire coaching staff being from the area, with Ryan Ambler. Piper Bond went to Penn, and there's so many, connections to Philadelphia there. And obviously you have Matt Rambo, you have TJ Malone and Matt O'Keefe, who both went to Penn State. Like, there's so many connections to just Pennsylvania and obviously Philly as a whole in this matchup. That it's just going to be awesome. And I think it is cool. Like you mentioned, like, this is a first time playoff matchup between two original 6 teams as well, which feels like it should have happened already. Like, the fact that this matchup hasn't happened in the playoffs and it gets to happen now on the biggest stage is such a cool moment. The only downside, I think, to this matchup, and that's unfortunate, is obviously Tom Schreiber is going to be out for this game. I wish Tom was healthy to be able to play, because I think it would just add that much more to this game and just the names and the faces that will be on display. What are some key matchups you're looking forward to in this game? Obviously, we have a heavyweight matchup at the Stripe. We've got elite defenses on both teams, great short stick units for both teams, and some high flying offenses that, like you said, know how to take the right shot, but can also hit from range, can hit at any angle that you put them in. What are some of the matchups you're looking forward to this weekend?
Number one, we got to talk about the two people who are arguably the biggest in this game, the goalies. How big of a game is Brendan Krebs going to have in his first championship, matchup? That's a big stage. And not that he hasn't been on big stages before, but this is the biggest of the biggest that's going to get for him at the moment.
And how does he respond after the overtime game too?
Right.
Like, as that game went on, he got progressively better, and like, that's such a emotional type of game where, like, he's obviously from Long Island. He went to high school right down the road at Chaminade. How does he respond coming off of a game like that?
And then, the other piece to that is Brett Dobson. How does he respond, winning a game 10-1 and being almost perfect? Can he, come back and do what he did last year and be great again in the championship game? There's a lot of pressure, on the goalie positions. And then you have Matt Dunn and Connor Fields. That's going to be something to watch 1,000%. And then, you look at the other side of the field, or, is Zapatello going to take Matt Dunn or Mac O'Keefe, or Matt Moore, Mac O'Keefe? How does he do in his matchup? And then the subsequent for Tim Muller. I would expect Tim Muller to guard Mac O'Keefe and kind of continue that off-ball role and really kind of shut that down, which is what he's done consistently for years now. So wouldn't be surprised to see that be the case there.
And it plays into what Stags has talked about when they drafted Ajax, where it's like they needed somebody who could cover the smaller, shiftier attackmen in the league, whether it be, Michael Sowers in particular, who he always highlights, but Matt Moore kind of fits that bill too.
Oh, 1,000% he does. Is there any other matchup I'm looking at? I guess Grant, Colin, or Mazzone, I guess, is who they've been running there. Yeah, they're going to pull him almost 100% of the time. Wouldn't expect anything different there. Interested to see short stick matchups against Adam Poitras and Levi Anderson. I would expect Chaney to get a pull a lot, Ryan Conrad to get a pull a lot to keep him from inverting. So how do they do against short stick matchups? Defensively for the Archers, who gets the TJ Malone matchup? Is it Graham? Is it Mason Woodward? And why? Like that's probably going to be the question I ask post game is why did you go with who you went with on TJ Malone? Because I think that's the real key to stopping the Whipsnakes offense.
Good question.
You got to be able to shut him down.
And then you, on the flip side, you also have to have somebody who has like the brute strength to go and match up with Matt Rambo
and Zed Williams.
And I would assume from them knowing each other, Warren Jeffrey gets the Zed Williams matchup. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking going into it. So then it's like, okay, it's Graham Hossack versus Matt Rambo, or is it Graham Hossack versus the guy who's been leading the team in scoring for the Whipsnakes all season?
Right.
And then do you put your rookie kind of, in the spotlight on a guy who is known for being clutch and has won a championship game for being clutch in that exact stadium?
There's a lot of chess playing that's going to go down with matchups this weekend on both sides. And I'm excited for that as a coach. It's kind of a chance for me to peek in and see kind of how things are done at a high level. And what kind of decisions to make in these kind of scenarios.
I'm also very excited to watch Coach Drew Snyder on this stage and see how his brain works in that mental chess match against Tony Resch. And that's going to be just fascinating to watch, the way that Tony Resch operates his defense, throwing that up against a rookie offensive coordinator, but a guy who knows how to win, has steadily improved this Whipsnakes offense as the season's gone on. That's going to be very fun to watch. And then obviously the big brains of Bates and Staggs kind of going toe for toe in the head coaching matchup. What percentage do you think Sis has to go at the stripe against Nards in this game?
At least 50. You got to get the ball at least half the time. I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest. But if he does go at least 50, the Archers are in a very good spot. Because I personally think they're already in a good spot, but if you're getting the ball half the time off the stripe, you're putting yourself in an even better position.
I want to see what he went. Not that, they were playing against Nards last year. I want to see what Sis did in the championship game last year.
I want to say he did really well in the championship game last year.
So last year, Sis went 69%. And that was because the Water Dogs were doing the prevent thing and had a plethora of guys out there. But yeah, I mean, if he's going that's you put it up there. Like, I think Nards accounts for at least 20% deficiency there for Sis from what he did last year at the stripe. To go 20 of 29 is crazy, but I think 50 is kind of the number there for him to hover around. And, I think what the Archers have done well this year is getting possessions off the face-off and having that entire unit just do well. And they've improved a lot in the 32-second shot clock. And that's another thing that both of these teams do pretty well is operate in that 32-second shot clock. And that's going to be a fun thing to kind of see how it unfolds in this game too, is how each team performs on the short clock.
I mean, they're both honestly really good on the short clock, which is where that conversation really begins to take a little bit of a turn is, how successful can they be off the short clock? Because that's where a lot of that is going to take advantage of having a really good face-off guy. Or can the Archers create a lot of turnovers in that short clock and then take advantage of having the long clock after if they're going to lose a lot of those possessions.
I think the other interesting thing in this, I don't know what they've done in the postseason. I'll have to double check as a team, but in the regular season, at least, the Whipsnakes went 100% on the penalty kill. That penalty kill unit,
they are still 100%.
Is lethal.
They are still 100%.
So that's definitely going to be something to watch in this game, is that if the Archers go man up, can they crack this Da Vinci code, the Stags code of this penalty kill? Because they have been unbelievable, and I don't know if a team has ever gone 100% on the penalty kill in the PLL era of pro field lacrosse, but that's a pretty damn good number, if I do say so myself. If you're doing something at 100% efficiency, that's pretty damn good. And that's going to be something to watch, throughout the game if the Archers do find a way to go man up and draw penalties against this Whipsnakes team that are very disciplined. And that's going to be on the opposite side of things too. Like, the Archers are going to have to be disciplined to not allow the Whipsnakes to get that man up and take advantage of that. But on top of that, the Archers had the second best power play this season at 42.3%. So it's a nice little matchup there when it comes to that. So it's going to be, who bends and doesn't break in that regard. I'm excited for this matchup. It's going to be a ton of fun. And Deej, for one final time in the 2024 PLL season, we have a pick to make, and it is the final march to the 2024 version of the pick pond here on OTB as we get set to make our championship pick, feed some ducks. And it is the PLL Finals pick of the week, powered by Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, only 120 calories, and just 8 grams of carbs. Available in the Philadelphia, Maryland, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, and Delaware areas. So all you Philly Archer fans, all you Maryland Whipsnakes fans, and anybody in the Philadelphia area can enjoy an ice-cold Kenwood beer this weekend. Go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood beer on tap all around the city of Philadelphia. You can also get it at your local liquor stores in those markets. Must be 21 or older to do so. And of course, please drink responsibly. Deej, one final pick. It's the Maryland Whipsnakes, the Utah Archers, for the final time. The big one on deck. Who's hoisting the trophy in Philly when that clock hits 0 at Subaru Park on Sunday?
I've said this over and over again. I don't like repeat champions. I like to see fresh faces. I think it's good for leagues to see fresh faces. It keeps everyone engaged. I don't even have that opportunity this year. But I promise I am not a hater. The Archers are just playing a different level of ball right now. And they have not given me a reason to pick against them since San Diego, maybe. And I'm rocking with it.
I have been on the record on this show for weeks now, months even, that it is felt like the Whipsnakes year. They've slithered their way all the way back to Philadelphia to compete for a championship. The first time competing for a championship in Philadelphia since 2019. The last time they played at Subaru Park was in the PLL Semifinals in 2021. And they have not been back since. The Utah Archers hoisted that trophy last season. There's a lot of storylines that could be had no matter who wins this game. But at the end of the day, gotta go with the gut, what I'm feeling. And guess what, Deej?
What up?
It's bows up.
I'm not gonna lie. I did not expect that to come out.
I am taking the Archers for the experience factor as this team. Sure, the Whipsnakes have won 2 championships as a franchise. Hasn't been that exact team. There's a lot of rookies on that Whipsnakes team. There's a lot of championship experience, recent championship experience on this Archers team. I think we get our first defending back-to-back champions since 2019-2020, and in legit, true full season fashion, the very first time of back-to-back champions. The Utah Archers will ride high in the West and hoist the PLL Championship trophy for a second straight season.
So you know what I got to say right now, right? Since we just did that, I would not be in the least bit surprised if the Whipsnakes win this championship.
Oh, 100%, because I've said it's a Whipsnakes year, so.
Not even that, just the fact that we just picked the same. We always know how these kind of things go.
Wouldn't shock us in the slightest. But there is our PLL Finals pick of the week, powered by Kenwood Beer, and it is the Utah Archers. Deej, one final topic here, and it is brought to you by our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company, the best merch in the game. Gear up with OTB official merch, shirts, hoodie season's right around the corner. Get your OTB hoodies, get your OTB shirts. Gear up for the NLL. Gear up for the PLL Championship Series in February. Get ready for college lacrosse. Get ready for everything while you're repping OTB, Rep Underground Sports Philadelphia. If you're a Philly sports fan, PHI Apparel Company has the most unique designs for all so that you stand out in the crowd. Click the link in the description or go to phiapparel.co. And when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your merch order. That's code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co to get 10% off your next merch order. Deej, after the PLL Championship game, we're going to be locked to our phones for a bit because the NLL Draft is going down on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and I just got to say, kudos to the NLL for making this after the championship game. Bravo. The first round will be streamed on the NLL's YouTube and Facebook, I believe, is what I saw the announcement. And the NLL has a new partner that will be providing jerseys and official merchandise starting in 2025-2026. And that is Castor, which I've seen a lot of mixed opinions on Castor. They have partnerships with a lot of European soccer teams. They have partnerships with Formula One and a lot of rugby teams. I've seen they're also the Fanatics of Europe. I don't know how I feel about it, but hey, it's not till 2025, 2026, but they are the presenting sponsor of the NLL Draft. And the Philadelphia Wings are on the clock, and I've been hearing some rumblings, Deej. KB sources out here. So hearing some rumblings about who the number one pick's going to be, and it's going to be nice little thing for the history books, potentially, where if Brennan O'Neill does go number one overall, he becomes just the 4th player in pro lacrosse history to be drafted number one overall in the MLL/PLL draft and in the NLL draft. And he would be another chapter in that book that would also be connected to Philadelphia because the Wings did it with Kevin Crowley back in the day in the NLL. First time since Jeff Teat that it would be done. I will say, no matter who the Wings draft, we will be having the 2024 NLL Draft number one overall pick on this show potentially next week. So yes, Sammy Adams and the #1 pick in the NLL draft on the same episode. Probably the winning coach of the PLL Championship as well. A 3-guest episode for the first time since 2022.
Gotta get crazy with it, right?
I mean, I gotta say, if it is Brennan O'Neill, me as a Philadelphia sports fan is over the moon ecstatic, because Brennan is the type of player who has the potential to be a face of a franchise type of player, has the potential to be a franchise altering player, and him playing in a big market like Philadelphia is exactly what the sport of lacrosse needs. And it has me super excited that if it is Brennan O'Neill, every single week during the NLL season, we're going to have access to Brennan O'Neill. And he's the man.
That would be what we call sick.
I also believe another phrase would be pretty good. Shout out Larry David. But yeah, I mean, there's rumblings that Brennan O'Neill could be the #1 overall pick, and that has me excited. On potential alone, it has me excited for the growth of Brennan's game just as a whole. And I mean, you're telling me we get to watch Brennan O'Neill play with Blaze Reardon, Mitch Jones, and Joe Rest-Terrets for 18 plus weeks all winter long. Where do I sign? Oh, and let's also not forget that Dalton Young signed with the Wings, and he's teammates with Brennan O'Neill on the Outlaws, and I think that's also a huge benefit of just like comfortability for somebody like Brennan to have somebody he knows from a team he's already on. And he also played with Blaze on Team USA. Obviously, Blaze was in goal, but it's somebody he's familiar with from a playing point in his career. Just has me excited. And like, obviously we don't know what Brennan will be in the box game, having not played it, but the build is there. The skill set is there. And if you're a Wings fan, or if you're just a lacrosse fan, you should be super excited that somebody of Brennan O'Neill's caliber could potentially be ending up with the Philadelphia Wings. Unless you're not a Wings fan, then sorry about it.
This dude. No, I'm actually really excited about this in terms of what it can do for the pod, what it can do for lacrosse, and having a guy of that stature in a city like Philly, where they dive head into sports and really embrace what the team has to offer the city. So whoever the #1 pick is going to be walking into a space where they're going to be welcomed, which is a big part of playing a sport, is feeling welcomed in the city you're in, which can really help, really expand their game. So I'm looking forward to the opportunities for us and for whatever said player, even though it is looking like it will be Brennan O'Neill who gets to really etch his name into some serious history.
Yeah, I mean, he would just be the 4th player ever, and it's Kevin Crowley who did it in 2011, Lyle Thompson who did it in 2015, and Jeff Teat who did it in 2020 in the NLL and 2021 in the PLL, to be drafted #1 overall in both pro lacrosse leagues. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who fits the skill set and the hype and just the demeanor and the player like stature. Brennan O'Neill's in those conversations with those guys at being elite at what he does. And that's what Kevin Crowley has brought to lacrosse his entire career. Obviously, that's what Lyle Thompson has done his entire career, and that's what Jeff Teat is continuing to do in the early go of his career. Brennan has the capabilities to do just that as well, and to be mentioned in the breath with those 3 guys is pretty fucking cool for somebody like Brennan O'Neill, who was like the next it kid. Like, he was the Bryce Harper, he was the LeBron James, being thrust into the fire at such a young age and so much expectation put on him. He deserves it. And I think the talent level is there for him to succeed in the NLL, especially with just like what we've seen him do in just 1 year of his PLL career.
Yeah, I mean, he's destined for greatness just based off of, how much he embraces not letting the pressure get to him. He's really big on just playing the game and doing it the right way, whether it be him or setting up someone else. Like, he doesn't want to feel like he has to be this guy. He wants to just simply exist and show off how good he is naturally. And I
we
think
saw
that
it
is
in that game against the Archers too, where he hits that shot and the first thing he does is great pass cross. Already shouting out his teammate for helping win the game more so than him. He's such a huge team player.
And I mean, that talks about him, but that also talks about Sudan and what they're doing up top, because that's also a coach thing. Like, you emphasize that and you drill that home. Hey, you point out your guy for setting you up, and then all 6 helmet. Like, I call it 6 helmets because that's what I heard in college. Is the offensive 6 helmets come together, and you all talk about, not necessarily talk about it, but you celebrate the goal, and then you sub off and make your changes. And same thing on defense. You talk about it, make your changes, but also when you score, you come together, you dap up your goalie. Like, these are all a part of the game, and they're doing it right over there.
And I'm also just like thinking about it from this perspective too, where Brennan's going to get to learn from Joe Resiteritz, the box game. Joe Resiteritz is regarded as one of the best Americans to ever play box lacrosse ever. I think that opportunity in and of itself, to have somebody like that in practice with you at your disposal to talk to and to learn from, is so valuable for Brennan, who has never played the box game, to get to learn from one of the all-time greats, along with, do you guys listening and watching at home realize the sicko shit we're going to see with Mitch Jones and Brennan O'Neill together? Like, the talent that is going to be on this team in 2024, 2025 for the Philadelphia Wings, if it is indeed Brennan O'Neill, is going to be absurd. And I can't wait. And our guy Jordy tweeted, he quote tweeted Dan's tweet about the other guys who went number 1 overall and said, step 1, draft Brennan O'Neill first overall. Step 2, bring back original Wings logo and uniforms. Step 3, make sure Jordy has enough beer for the parade down Broad Street.
Not already planning the parade.
Oh, I love it. But that to me, and obviously Jordy's a sicko lacrosse fan like us, but like, that to me accentuates the talent level and the needle moving that Brennan O'Neill does for a lacrosse team. It has people excited. It has people like optimistic about a team who, sure, they had talent last year, but guess what? The results were not there. They went 6-12. And Paul Day, the GM, put his hat on, and luckily the Colorado Mammoth had a much worse season, and you flip Taggart Clark for what could... Shout out to Taggart Clark. That trade, if Brennan O'Neill's NLL career comes anywhere close to being what we think it can be, that trade's going to go down as one of the craziest and best trades in lacrosse history.
You think so?
I think if Brennan comes out and showcases his skill sets and talents at a level that we know he's capable of, and picks up the box game and showcases what he's able to do with a stick in his hands, to flip Taggart Clark effectively for Brennan O'Neill is kind of crazy.
I mean, it's more than kind of crazy. It's more than kind of crazy, but like you said, it's dependent on how well his career turns out to be, and I'm going to be that guy right now. We haven't really seen Brennan O'Neill play any box, so we don't know what he brings to that game. It could be good, it could be bad, and that's where, like, we've had this conversation a little bit. Like, I personally, especially if you're in a win now moment, feel like there are guys that have been tried and true in high levels of Canadian box leagues that you can go and get that will fill that role, that you know exactly what they're bringing to the team because you've seen it in a box setting already. But then again, it's Brennan O'Neill, so you know, I am giving him the benefit of the doubt to go in and completely blow my mind and change it. It's just at the moment we haven't seen it, so I don't know what to expect.
And Steven Stamp put out an article for Inside Lacrosse. We'll link it in the description, kind of breaking down his predictions and his mock draft for 2024's NLL Draft. And he said, let's be honest, this is not a strong draft. And I mean, we can say that too. We've been going into this kind of not knowing who's even available outside of Brennan and a couple guys we've been looking at because the Wings have the #1 pick. And it's like, all right, let's try to figure out who they could take. There are only a handful of players who would be considered likely first-round picks in most years. What the 2024 draft does include is loads of solid players, some of whom will rise to the level of the pro game and show that they were underrated coming into the draft. The secret for teams is to figure out who those players are and nurture them into future stars. Plus, another
nice excerpt.
Another cool thing if Brennan does end up being the #1 pick, along with being in that class with Kevin Crowley, Lyle Thompson, Jeff Teat, he'd be the first American to be the first overall pick in the NLL draft since the Rochester Nighthawks took Casey Powell at the top of the 1998 draft.
Wow.
It's been a long time.
That is one, just older than me. and two, that is a long time. And it shows too, once again, how much skill he has and being one of those guys that could do it. Although I think we could see it again next year with CJ Curse and the ability he has both on a box floor, but also out on the field. But yeah, it's just more history that kid can be making.
And we talked about it too.
He's so humble about it.
Oh, it's the coolest shit ever. Like, I aspire to be as humble as Brennan O'Neill with how talented he is. And like we talked about it too, like early on, I was looking at the Wings to take a defenseman and like get that franchise cornerstone defenseman. And guess what, guys? Paul Day said, I'm gonna let you relax. I'm gonna go address the defense in the dispersal draft. And they went and got Tony Malcolm. They went and got Connor Sellers, who is like the big giant defenseman Wings fans have been clamoring for since we thought it was going to be Brock Sorensen. Connor Sellers is a fucking dog, and you should be excited about him. Plus, Liam Patton is back, and we know how scrappy and just physical he can be on the defensive end. Plus, Ryan Wagner is back, and we can take a sigh of relief. And this is no slight to the man. He's a legend. He's going into his 18th year in the NLL. But Ian Lord is no longer a Philadelphia Wing. He signed with the Rochester Nighthawks. We don't have to worry about 40-year-old Ian Lord being like one of our core defensemen like he has been the last couple of years. That's been a problem. It's like, and that's no slight to him, but when you have a 37-year-old, 38-year-old, 39-year-old defenseman as one of your starters, that's not a recipe for success. But Paul Day has filled out the roster with defensemen and the type of defenseman we've been wanting as Wings fans, and people have covered this team, and that should have everyone excited. I'm bummed Ben McIntosh is gone, and I know he plays the opposite side of Brennan O'Neill, but I tweeted it. I said, as soon as Ben McIntosh signed with San Diego, the opportunity for Brennan O'Neill to become a Philadelphia Wing just skyrocketed, and it feels like it's trending that direction, and we'll find out Sunday night, and we'll be in the streets of Philadelphia, and potentially, you know, Brennan O'Neill will be a Philadelphia athlete, and that's all I could ever ask for. And it's something I never thought would be possible, but here we are. So we'll have NLL draft stuff popping off on the timeline on Sunday night as well, so follow along for sure. And we got some awesome stuff planned for the NLL season that you will not want to miss. So make sure you guys are following us on socials at OTB LaxPod across the board. Subscribe to the pod. Follow Deej at SCS_next great. Follow me at KBIZZL311. I'll say it again. Subscribe to the pod. Apple and Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. Be a friend, tell a friend to subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. YouTube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers. And next week could be one of the most epic guest lists on this show for one singular show ever. Big thank you to the man, the myth, the legend, Sammy Adams, for hopping on this week with us for an hour and a half. And stay tuned for Sammy Adams next week, along with, hopefully, the winning coach in the PLL Championship Game, potentially a player from any team, because Connor Fields, like we mentioned last episode, has agreed in principle to come on the show, and potentially Brennan O'Neill on the show next week. We're rocking and rolling, brother.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys. Like, legit, like, shit would not be possible without you guys listening and watching. So thank you guys for all the support, and shout out to all the new people that come through, because Sammy Adams has been on the pod and is going to be on the pod again next week. Yes, you heard that right. Sammy Adams back on OTB next week. Tune in, be a friend, tell a friend. Shout out to Shootout For Soldiers, the best presenting sponsor in the game. Click the link in the description. Check out their website. Find out ways to donate. Figure out how to bring Shootout For Soldiers to your neighborhoods and to your community. And stay tuned for all of the stuff they have coming throughout the rest of the year, because it's going to be epic. We're so excited for what they have in store throughout the fall and winter. And this has been episode number 340, a PLL Championship and NLL Draft preview edition featuring Sammy Adams of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box Podcast, the official lacrosse pod on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Hoots, for Chase, for Deej, for Sammy Adams, I'm KB. Let's enjoy one hell of a weekend in the city of brotherly love, and a weekend of lacrosse that we will never forget. And until next time, we're getting the heck up out of here and signing off. Peace.
Bye.